You damn right. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday. It is not just any Thursday around these parts, and certainly on any show I'm in a part of. You know I'm all about the birthdays. I love a good birthday. And today, we have maybe the most special birthday there is. Not often do you celebrate 187, but today, it's 187. It's proud. It's big. You can drive all the way across it. Actually, you can't in a day, depending on where you start from. You can drive all day and all night, and you'd still be in it. Texas is 187 years old today. Happy birthday to the great state. We'll be celebrating that today. I am Chad Hastings, born and raised in Waxahachie, Texas. I am joined once again by Isaiah Collier, born and raised right here in Austin.
That's right. Zay? Shout out to all my Austin Knights, the OGs that are still here. Very few of us. Very proud to still be here. Might not ever leave, damn it.
Just stick around.
Just stick around. It's that beautiful.
It is a nice area.
How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It is definitely a nice area to be in, although there is some rain coming. There's some thunderstorms coming and maybe some tornadic activity, depending on your area. Double-check your weather. Double-check your apps. Double-check your things that need to be tied down. Plants and pets and all that stuff at the house this evening. We may be getting a batch of that kind of stuff, depending on where you are. It is also a special day in football today because it's Combine Day 1. That will involve 3 Longhorns and some big, big names, including the biggest name this week in the Combine, Jalen Carter. We'll get to all of that, but we also need to get to what happened last night in Fort Worth, as the Longhorns had a chance to at least give themselves a shot at a share of a conference championship. They ended up not getting that done. It ends up close. TCU gets by Texas 75-73. Zay, this was a strange game. It through the first half, I would have told you Texas didn't have a shot. It just felt like they were going to It just didn't feel like they had the edge to get it done. But then that second half, there were little runs, there were little moments, and I kept thinking, well, you know what? They're right there. They're right there. They just need a couple things to happen consecutively. And it just didn't feel like they could get 2 good things to happen back to back down the stretch. What'd you make of it last night?
Disappointing. Very disappointing. You know, you knew it was at stake with Kansas winning on Tuesday night to beating Texas Tech, and at that time being co-Big 12 champs, and you knew Texas, they still controlled their own destiny going into last night, and man, they started off bad. You could just tell the feel of how a game's going to go when right from tip, Dylan Mitchell tips it to Dylan Disu, and he has the ball in his hands for maybe less than its second, and Damian Baugh, who was amazing last night with Mike Miles only having 1 point, gets the steal and scores the layup. So not only did they take away the possession and then the next jump ball you have goes to TCU because you controlled the ball, Dylan Disu, you turn it over and you give just a jump start to the momentum and how the vibe was going to go for TCU the whole game. And one of the most disappointing things with these last 2 games, Chad, we're going to talk about the last 3 games also, but the last 2 games, both leading scores for Baylor and TCU combined for 1 point. Keontae George obviously went out with that ankle injury. He leads Baylor in scoring for around 17, 18 points a game. Mike Miles went 0 for 8. Texas held him 0 for 8. And if you would have told me yesterday, we're going to hold Mike Miles 0 for 8. He ain't going to get a field goal all game long. Should we win it by 20? Yeah. Big 12 championship, here we come. I can't wait to go to the moon. I ain't going on Saturday. I'm chilling at the crib.
And just like we talked about with the Baylor game, you had the line for George and a bunch of turnovers for Baylor. Same thing last night. The line for Miles and 22 turnovers for TCU.
These last 2 games, you forced 43 turnovers combined. 43. 21 against Baylor, and then 22 against TCU. You lose both games. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do and lose. But why have they been losing, even though they've been forcing turnovers? They've been getting killed on the boards. Against Texas Tech, They lost the rebounding margin 41-29. Tech 41, Texas 29. Against Baylor, they lost the rebound margin 37-25. 37 for Baylor, 25 for Texas. Then last night, 46-28.
That's rude right there.
So
minus 18.
Yeah. Ooh. And we talked about, you remember, Chad, when Mark Henry called us before the season ever started, and he said, I'm worried about them not having no bigs, no muscle. And I told Mark that maybe their athleticism could, make that not be such a problem with how athletic we know Dylan Mitchell is, Christian Bishop, Dylan DeSue, which has looked good as of late, which is depressing because he wasn't that good at the beginning of the season when the horns were clicking. And now him and Tyrese Hunter, both guys, that's ironic, ain't it? Both guys that you kind of wanted to do a little bit more at the beginning of the year, Tyrese Hunter and Dylan DeSue, they're doing that now, and nobody else is giving them that.
Now the other guys, yeah.
Yeah, so them getting killed on the boards, that's a problem because you want to have Brock Cunningham in there with his three-point shooting and what he's brought to the table this year, but Brock's still small, and Brock gets called for a bad blockout call every game. Every single game where you think Texas gets a good stop, they hit Brock with that. Just bad boxing out, get the booty on the hip at the wrong time, and the ref always gets them. The refs weren't the best last night anyway, teeing up Coach Terry.
Yeah, no, they were not.
Nah, I didn't like the tech, but hey, they threw it at him. What you gonna do? I know people were asking, there's 6 people on the court. There's 6 players on the court. I didn't see that. And if there was 6 players on the court, that's the ref's fault. You can't penalize TCU for the refs bringing in 6 guys. Like, the refs have to see that. You have to be locked in as a ref.
Sure.
I'm bringing guys in and out. This isn't like football and you're getting Aaron Rodgers where he sees 12 men coming on the field and he throws it real quick. Yeah, that's not the same in basketball. It's the ref's fault.
You get to pick when it starts.
But that's not why Coach Terry got the tech anyway. But now, again, I've been so adamant about this 9-man rotation, and that's because it keeps you fresh throughout the year. With how grueling the Big 12 is and how much it takes out of teams. And look at the last 2 national champions with Baylor and Kansas. Those guys were deep. Like, those Baylor guys, Adam Flagler, Thamba, Chachua, they still around now.
Yeah.
As, big parts of that team. Same with this Kansas team last year. Juwan Harris and Jalen Wilson, those guys are still there. So, and they had so much depth. Like, Remy Martin was coming off the bench. And, what do you do with Arterio Morris? Like, he's barely playing. And he had a huge 3 last night to make it, I think, 51-46. But then they went on another run.
Yeah.
Like, Emmanuel Miller had 2 huge and 1 finishes in the second half. And I told y'all yesterday, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the Big 12. He is so tough and physical and long and athletic. And if he starts hitting shots from the outside, then that just makes him that much scarier. We know how good TCU is offensive rebounding. We saw him getting 46-28.
Yeah, you talked about that yesterday, and it definitely came through right away. You could see that. Those offensive boards were going to be big.
Yeah, and it's you get killed on the boards because they're a small team. The Horns are small. Even, last night, that last rebound when Mike Miles missed the layup and they end up getting the board, you needed that stop. You're down by 3. You need the stop. You need the ball. But who'd you have in the game? You had Tyrese Hunter, Sir'Jabari Rice, Marcus Carr, Timmy Allen, and Brock Cunningham. Nobody's over 6'7" that I just named. Nobody. Brock might be 6'5" at best. Timmy Allen 6'5" at best. They might say 6'6". I don't believe that. Everybody gets an extra inch when you go look at the depth charts and stuff just to make it look good. Hell, I'm 6'5" right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just because it sounds good, but it's worrisome. I'm worried going into March. We're here. Not going into March. We are here, and you want to be playing your best basketball. And you're not. And Marcus Carr, he has not been playing well, and he's exhausted. Every shot that he misses is short. And Timmy Allen gives you only 6 last night. That ain't going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. Sir'Jabari Rice, he did his thing. He had a nice finish going into halftime where the Horns had a little bit of momentum. Tyrese Hunter had a finish, and one finish where he got hype. And you're like, okay, like you said, Chad, they're right there. But then Damian Ball would get a tough layup, or O'Bannon Jr., who has that wind-up shot, behind the head. That thing ugly. He hit a huge three. Ain't nobody going out to contest that, Chad.
No.
That ain't on the scouting report. This is one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the nation.
Yeah.
So you want Micah Peavy, whose dad's doing sketchy-ish down in Duncanville, to shoot those threes. You want that. Give me all of that. But he hits two. And that goes to just the deflating things for your team. Like, you're trying to stop Mike Miles, and you do that. But Bob goes for 20, what he had, 24.
Yeah.
20 and 10 for Emmanuel Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Coles had a little stretch where, he hit some tough shots and took it to the hole. And again, you gotta give credit to Jamie Dixon's squad. Like, they're fighting for their seeking lives still. They want to move up in their seeding with March Madness in the tournament, and they feel like they lost some games due to Mike Miles being injured. But that also, you saw with Mike Miles being injured, guys like Emmanuel Miller and Damian Ball, they're used to, okay, he's not playing well. Well, we were without him for a few games. We're good. Like, we're used to dealing with it.
No, they looked like that.
Yeah.
They looked like there wasn't going to be much that could phase them last night. Good start. You mentioned the threes going down early. Crowd was into it. They were physical. They were on the boards. And I just remember thinking, oh, Lord, this is exactly what Jamie Dixon wants.
Yeah.
This is exactly what he's thinking of when he thinks of, I want my team to do these things. They were checking those boxes in the first few minutes. I do give Texas credit for making that thing close. Because what was it at its worst? 17?
16.
16?
Yeah.
16. At that moment, I'm thinking, oh, goodness. But then they get it to, 10 at the half, right? You get it in a reasonable. And then it goes down to, 6 with 5 minutes to go? I mean, even though Texas had been sluggish and didn't feel like it had that fire, one of the TV announcers saying, Texas needs to wake up the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
But then you got towards the end of it, and again, it's back to when Sark talks about complementary football. I don't know if that's how basketball coaches talk about it, but it's just linking those things together. Sometimes coaches will say, let's put stops together, but it's just linking the chain stuff together. It's let your bucket then create a good defensive possession, which creates the next bucket. Texas just couldn't get that second thing to happen. They'd have one, and then TCU would do the next 2 or 3 good things.
Yeah. And, the defense is decent. I mean, 62% shooting in the first half, that's not good. I think Baylor in the second half, they shot over 60% also. So you don't like that.
Right.
But you're forcing turnovers, obviously.
Right.
Over 20 in the last 2 games. But just the aggression that Baylor put on you, they went to the line so many times. And again, this Texas squad, they're starting to become really fatigued. Like, this Big 12, it's brutal. Dylan Mitchell ain't giving you nothing. Like, old trick guy said, you nothing. He ain't giving you nothing. Not a damn thing.
That's a rough 10 minutes.
And it's brutal.
Yeah.
Like, I feel so bad for Dylan Mitchell because you saw the tip dunk and you go, yes. Like, I kind of jumped out my seat when he had that tip dunk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need something from him. Like, you need something from him.
The other thing you've talked about, Zay, and this isn't for a while now, you've talked about Jabari Rice being a guy that probably will enjoy facing a non-Big 12 team
he
coming
can't
up
wait.
because of everybody's got it on the shot fake, and everybody sees it on the the scouting reports and stuff. But it'll be interesting to see what happens when this team gets to the tournament too. Get out of all the Big 12 teams, when you get out of this slog that you got to go through each and every night with all these coaches that can coach their ass off and tough teams, what will it look like when they get a chance to take a breath and face somebody else for 40 minutes? But we're a long ways away from that. I understand why you and other Texas fans would be a little concerned because they don't feel like it's coming together in March. Something needs to start, polishing up here, and what we saw last night was pretty rough.
Yeah. I mean, look at Iowa State. They've lost so many games as of late, which Caleb Grill, that's one thing I am happy about, him getting kicked off the team. That's a beautiful thing.
You did smile when I said that today.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
thing. I don't know why
thing.
you smiled when I said Caleb Grill got kicked off that basketball team.
Dirty son of a B. He had it coming, Chad. You knew he had it coming.
Oh, wait, is that the guy that, is that
to
the
be
one?
To be honest, we could blame him for the lack of production we're seeing in Dylan Mitchell. Who knows?
I see.
Like,
okay.
He could have CTE from that fall that he took. he could really be shook.
He was that guy.
Because he has not played well since.
Yeah.
I mean, so Caleb Grill, I'm cool with that. That definitely puts a smile on my face. But Iowa State, they look horrible right now. Like they're limping, like bad limp, like pimp walk limp into
towards the tournament.
Into the tournament.
Yeah.
So the thing about like this, Chad, with how good Texas has been at home this year, their away record, like all these losses have come on the road. Besides the loss to Kansas State, they haven't lost at home. So you could argue if we were still at the Irwin Center, this team might be on the bubble because we know what the attendance was there. Like the Moody Center and the Corral has been so huge this year for the Horned success, all those comeback wins and stuff, you know, Texas Tech and TCU the first time, which that's also kind of worrisome because you've had to come back so many times, and that takes so much out of a team. And again, this Horned squad, they're so small, so they exert a lot on defense, and the key to beating them is just overpowering them inside, make them draw fouls. The Horns foul way too much for my liking. Like, you just way too many dumb fouls from not necessarily being out of position, but just being overmatched. You know, Sir'Jabari Rice, he's playing small forward technically at times. He's 6'4". Yes, he has long arms and stuff, but Jamie Dixon was throwing like 6'7", 6'5". Micah Peavy's 6'5", 6'6". Manuel Miller's around 6'7". O'Bannon Jr. is athletic. Damian Ball. You know, they just had a different aggression and athleticism that is very troublesome for Texas during this time of the season.
We'll continue to talk not only about the game, but now how does that affect the Longhorns tournament situation? We'll look at bracketology and all that. As of this morning, Longhorns, I believe, according to Lunardi, would still be a 2 seed, maybe hanging on to that 2 line, but now Texas is maybe in danger of slipping to a 3. Also in the Big 12 tournament, Texas is in danger, Zay. They were at a 1-2 spot. Now they may be a 3 or 4 in the Big 12 tournament, which means that first game on Thursday could push to either really early, an 11:30 tip, or push really late to that 8:30 tip, so they'd have to go late into the night into the 3-6 game. So we'll keep our eyes on that too, but last night could affect 2 kinds of seeding.
Texas fans, y'all remember the last time the Horns were a 3 seed? Abilene Christian bounced first round. Shaka Smart's last game as a Longhorn on the sidelines. Now look at what Shaka's doing, winning the Big East and stuff. Ain't that a B? You kidding me? That grinds my gears out the ass. But hey, congrats to Shaka. I'm glad he's doing well. You know, part of me, I'm glad he's doing well and having success. But just going from number 1 to number 2, that's why I've been talking about number 1 all year long and how big that is. Like playing a 16th seed and a 15th seed, there's such a huge difference. Ask John Calipari last year at Kentucky. That was a pretty good Kentucky team with Ty Washington, and, you know, they still had big man last year that won Naismith Player of the Year. Like, they had a good squad. First round, out, just like that. So, again, with the Horns being the 3rd seed a couple of years ago and being bounced out by Abilene Christian, you don't want to keep playing the way you're doing because it's the madness. We know anything could happen, and all these teams, all these low mid-majors, they win their conference tournament. That's how they get in. So they're hot. They come in hot. They come in on a rhythm. That's why there's upsets. And, you know, teams that limp in, like Iowa State and like how it seems Texas is right now, if I come in when whoever Texas plays and I tell y'all I might not have Texas first round, don't be mad at me. I'm just trying to win my bracket, maybe get a TV, win some extra money, you know, maybe take my wife on vacation. Look at it like that. Don't look at it, you know, I know my man Ty Henderson, he don't bet against Texas and stuff, producer for B&E. Damn that.
Yeah.
If Texas is going to play like this, I can't believe in them just because I'm loyal.
Yeah, no, we talked about it yesterday when they're away from the Moody Center, and obviously after this Kansas game, they're away from the Moody Center because you don't get to come back home and play tournament games at all. So they've got to figure some things out. Let us know what you think after last night, 75-73, but it just didn't feel that close. TCU beating Texas. We will also talk football today. We'll get into some of that. We got Jeff Howe coming up at 105 from horns247.com, and of course, right here from Light to Tower on our staff. Also today at 2, it is Thursday. It is album swap day. We are talking Only Built for Cuban Links, the Raekwon album. I listened to it. I've listened to the whole thing. And Zay got all the way through Dirty Computer by Janelle Monáe. He'll give you that review at 2:05. We're also talking Combine coming up. Guess who's back at the Combine today? Plus, we'll talk about the Longhorns trying to make an impact in Indianapolis. Stay with us. It's The Horn. All right, this is Chad talking Apple Leasing. Always things to worry about, things to take care of. Well, with Apple Leasing, it's one less thing to take care of because with the leasing process, you're paying for the part of the car that you're using. They'll make it really simple for you. They get you into any make, any model, any car, any truck. They make the process so simple. Just a couple conversations. Call 346-9977. Start talking them through what you're looking for. It's really nice because they can save you so much legwork. You're looking at different brands. That's fine. They've got all kinds of connections. They'll go find those options for you. They'll bring them back to you. They'll deliver it right to your driveway if you need them to do that. That's obviously a lot of convenience. And as I've mentioned before, you're signing everything electronically, so you're not sitting in a dealership for hours and hours signing a bunch of documents and wasting that time. They're saving you time. They're going to save you money because they get all the discounts and incentives that the dealers do. They'll pass those savings on to you as well. Check them out. 346-9977. Tell them you heard about it right here on The Horn. You can also find them online at appleleasing.com.
Chad and Zay.
Zay, you know how they say, you know how Dave Chappelle said that the electric guitar is a magical sound to white people?
Yeah, John Mayer skit, classic.
Specifically when this dude plays the electric guitar, we and I think all humans that love music do react a little bit. This would be Van Halen. And when Eddie played that guitar, it was different. A little different.
Yeah,
He's
a
awesome.
legend.
Ain't talking about love. This is early Van Halen here. Good stuff.
Who's more legendary, Slash or Eddie?
Eddie.
Eddie?
Yeah.
You said that quick.
In terms of a guitar legend, it's Eddie. And I would hope Slash would agree to that. When we're, yeah, it's Eddie.
Why is that?
The longevity of the band and just his influence on other guitar players, it's just greater than what Slash did. Slash is awesome. Slash has got his own unique sound, too. Guitar, you get a bunch of guitarists together and ask that question, there's no way they're not telling you it's Eddie.
Yeah.
Just all the stuff, the little fingerboard stuff. He kind of invented, just like a Stevie or a Jimi Hendrix or whatever, they invented a new way to play. When you listen to Eruption, the guitar solo, some of the stuff in there, he literally thought up to do that. Nobody else had ever thought to do it.
Oh, he was just making up stuff?
He was like, again, the closest comparison I could make is Jimmy. Because Jimmy was just this alien who did stuff nobody had ever seen, and that's kind of what Eddie was.
Right.
So, yeah, I think Eddie would be that bigger impact in the guitar world. Van Halen gets us started. We'll talk music today. Album swap segment is coming at 2 o'clock. I'm talking about a Raekwon album, and Zay's talking Janelle Monáe. If you don't want to listen to that, I can't help you. I really can't. If you've missed some of the other conversations, you can go to the YouTube page, youtube.com/@thehorn Austin. Thank you to our 760 subscribers. Remember, if you want to make sure you don't miss anything, go subscribe to the YouTube page. We've got things broken down there for you, shorter videos, and we do have different discussions up, including the ODB and Def Leppard album swap, including the one before that, which would have been Method Man and Guns N' Roses. And then also, if you missed us earlier in the week talking about Deion Sanders and those interesting comments on recruiting, got that broken down for you on the YouTube page. Also, check out hornfm.com later on. You actually can go to our podcast page right now. We interviewed Antoine Thompson yesterday, the coach at Stony Point, as they get ready for their big matchup, playoff matchup this week. Also, the Flex guys and the Wednesday Night Flex show, they went all Hutto on you. So if you are a hippo, you definitely want to check it out. Football coach, your quarterback, and your big-time receiver all were on the show last night. So check all that out. We talked basketball already. Texas falls to TCU. Lots of texts coming in. And before we get to the NFL, Zay, I'll just try to pare it down. But there have been texts coming in today asking about Texas and coaching going into this next stretch. And I watched the game last night, and I'm in the Big 12, I'm always going to have those thoughts. There are badass coaches in this league. The question, I think, maybe for some Texas fans is what they're seeing, little moments here and there. Is Rodney Terry dialing it up the way it needs to be dialed up in March? How are you looking at things right now in terms of Coach Terry?
Yeah, he's definitely having to figure things out. He's faced some really good coaches as of late, and Scott Drew definitely got him, which it's Scott Drew. He's one of the best. And I don't know necessarily last night he got out coached. I think they were just so much more physical. Like Christian Bishop, he didn't do nothing for you, but I would have liked to see, sometimes you could take Timmy Allen out the game. He doesn't have to finish games for you, especially with what he's giving you out on the court, like 6 points. And then, I know he was up in double digits against Baylor, but those were all like trash buckets towards the end of the game where we knew Baylor by the 6-minute mark in the second half, you knew Baylor was going to win the game. And then Timmy Allen, he had all his buckets then. So if you're struggling on the boards, get Dylan DeSue back in the game. Even like if Dylan Mitchell, maybe get him back at the game at just key spots. You just got to play chess out there in different scenarios. Maybe call a timeout to make those substitutions. Or there's so much that you can look at, but at the end of the day, they're just not playing well. Marcus Carr. He's been your leading scorer all year, and he hasn't been good offensively. And there's been so much, Tyrese Hunter has been trying to give him, time off the ball and try to create, but still Tyrese Hunter, it's not like he's giving you 25. It's not like he's giving you 20. He's just giving you around 12 when he plays well, 15. Plus he has to worry about his defense. So it's tough. It's tough. That's a tough question.
So yesterday when we talked to Coach Thompson, just to kind of bring a couple stories together, Coach Thompson at Stony Point, I asked him, what happened to create the run? In their second and third quarter, they essentially took it from Buda Johnson. And he said, well, he was frank with us. He said, yeah, I got on him. I got on him. There were some words said, harsh words were said. And some of the text coming in today is about how Longhorn fans, certain fans, how they think Chris Beard would have handled it
right.
versus how Rodney Terry is handling it. So it's it's an interesting thing. Like for me, if I'm in any kind of leadership situation, I'm not a yeller and a screamer. But the question is, does this situation call for yelling and screaming that Rodney Terry's not providing? That's kind of what some fans are wondering right now.
Yeah, and I would say to that, it depends on the player. Every player is different. Every player reacts different. Some players, you could jump their bones and straight up cuss them out, and they're going to respond. Like I've heard Jason Tatum talk about his Duke days. Coach K used to straight up tell him, oh, you're just a soft-ass St. Louis boy. And that would trigger Jason Tatum.
That got him.
That would be like, oh, you brought my hometown, and I'm so prideful. Like he knew how prideful of St. Louis Jason Tatum was.
Yeah.
And he didn't necessarily like call him out his name or, say, yo, you playing like a little B. Or he didn't say nothing like that.
Right, nothing too rude. But
you're a soft-ass St. Louis. That was the main thing. Soft-ass St. Louis boy. Like, nah, man, I'm one of the toughest to come out the Lou. Like, it's me. It's me, Nelly, and Bradley Beal, dog. That's it. But that's it. Like,
I like that you put Nelly above Bradley Beal. I like that one.
You know what I'm saying? Good, yeah. Like, you got to throw Nelly in what he did for sure.
Sure.
So Rodney Terry has to do things like that because we remember Chris Beard, he tried that jumping bones approach, and Trey Mitchell transferred like the next day.
Right. And that's the other side of it that I'm glad you brought that up too, because like me, if I was a badass player in any sport, I don't respond well to that.
Yeah.
You get in my face and start screaming and yelling, I'm going to freeze.
Right.
I'm not, you can call that whatever you want, soft or cupcake or this age kid, whatever. I'm just not, that's not how I was raised.
Right.
So it freaks me out. But so yeah, it's that balancing, but I get why, especially road game, crazy environment. Is there a moment where you need to stop everything and just you or somebody needs to get on your team?
Yeah, when you see, because I saw Bill Self go crazy against Tech the other night. He was mad because Kansas, they went on like a 10-minute drought and they weren't scoring. I forgot who he went off on, but again, it's who you go off on. He knew he could yell at probably Jalen Wilson, the senior, 22 years old.
And everyone else would react
and everybody
the right
else
way.
Would be like, oh, man, he's yelling at Jalen, our best player like that. It's for real.
Right.
And Jalen's going to be like, okay, because he's a leader. I got you, coach. I'm right there. It just depends. And Coach Terry, coming from an assistant job, he wasn't doing that. He wasn't doing that before. So you don't want to be fake. You know what I'm saying? Like if you were an assistant coach and you weren't jumping people's bones as an assistant and now you're a head coach, you still got to balance that. And that's what Coach Terry, he is struggling with that. He is.
Yeah.
Like he's struggling with trying to find that from jumping at the refs, like jumping their bones, to his players, to what he says to his assistant coaches. Because again, he was just in their shoes as an assistant.
Right. Yeah. No,
so now he has to talk to them differently and he has to expect more out of them.
Yeah.
But he has to approach them in a different way. Like, hey, coach, we were kind of on the same level having, these same conversations at one point. Now you're talking to me crazy. And I think, this coaching staff with all their experience, I don't think it is that. But yeah, each player's different. Each coach is different. And yeah, Horns fans, they have a right to think that way about Coach Terry right now.
One of the fans texted, interesting thought here. The players at Texas came here for Coach Beard. They wanted that coaching approach.
I'm not. No, come on. This is the University of Texas. They ain't come for Coach Beard.
Not just for, but
I literally just said it's Austin, Texas. I might not ever leave.
Yeah, it's true.
Like the city is something serious.
Not that
like,
it's the only thing.
Yeah.
But maybe it's part of it for some of the players. I don't know.
If that was the case, Jalen Tyson would have stayed.
That's
Because
true.
he came for Coach Beard. That's what he was literally doing that, and he realized,
Oh, you're right. It's the balancing out of all that stuff. They got to obviously work on that as it moves forward. Longhorns just did not have it last night against TCU. Made it close, but ultimately didn't get the win. We've hit that. We got Combine Day 1 today in Indianapolis, and no matter what you think of this Jalen Carter story, he is in Indianapolis today. He got booked last night at 11:30. He got released. They made bond or made bail, whatever it is, and then he got released at about midnight last night, Georgia time, and he is back in Indianapolis today. He also released a statement that said, this morning I received a telephone call from the Athens, Georgia Police Department informing me that 2 misdemeanor warrants have been issued against me for reckless driving and racing. Numerous media reports also have circulated this morning containing inaccurate information concerning the tragic events of January 15th, 2023. It is my intention to return to Athens to answer the misdemeanor charges against me and to make certain that the complete and accurate truth is presented. There is no question in my mind that when all of the facts are known, that I will be fully exonerated of any criminal wrongdoing. And again, he is in Indianapolis today, Zay, to essentially answer that question over and over and over 32 times. I was asking you earlier today, do I just hand everybody a statement? Am I going to have to reset this story for every single NFL team today? Maybe he is.
Yeah, and who knows what his camp is telling them to say and what he's allowed to say.
Yeah, if it's an active case, is he
right?
Could he possibly go to all these teams and say, "Look, I can't go specifics"?
Right.
I mean, I don't think he can do that.
I don't think so either. But this affects the whole draft.
Yeah,
this affects the entire draft. Like a lot of teams' thoughts were, "Oh man, how can you miss out on this guy?" And now you got to worry about him off the field and his decision making. And we know how critical these teams get, all 32 teams / GMs at these combines and the questions that they ask. We just played the Emmanuel Acho clip when we were talking about Deion Sanders and the things that he was asked. So who knows what they're going to say to Jalen Carter.
Oh, my God. Yeah, exactly.
Who knows? Like, hey, man, like, do you have like those, everybody, like, when you hear people say, I need it for the rush, like I need it for the thrill.
Yeah.
Like, is he one of those guys that just has to have a crazy, just fast-paced life that some of us just can't relate to?
And if he is, he's not going to be the first one, because we've had athletes through the years. They have to put it in their contracts. You can't ride motorcycles. You can't go surfing.
Yeah, Jay Williams.
You can't, the Jay Williams thing, right? And that was in his contract.
That was in his contract.
And they still took care of him.
And he went to Duke.
Yeah, they still took care of him, too. I thought that's a big moment, because they didn't have to do what they did there. But I remember, we've had baseball players that couldn't surf. They loved to surf. And eventually that next baseball team had to say, all right, man, we can't have you on the board during the season. Maybe they'll let you do it in the offseason, but not during the season.
Surfing that dangerous? Or are we
like
thinking about sharks and stuff?
I think it's maybe a little. I don't know if it's just about the shark part of it. It's just about the inherent danger when you get out there with big waves.
Yo, I'm not gonna front. I took surfing lessons back in the day, in my teenage days, when we were up in Cancun and stuff on a cruise. And I went underwater, Chad, and that heavy-ass board, because it's attached to your ankle, it took me tumbling I thought the light was flashing right in front of me. Like, it was never again.
Yeah, it can be really,
so
really
I
dangerous.
get it.
Yeah, it can be really dangerous. So, so he's going to face the music today. Jalen Carter will be a big part of the discussion, but of course there are 3 Longhorns there today for D-line and linebacker drills, and I'm looking at a list from NFL.com of the linebackers that are showing up, and I'm seeing Overshown as the 9th best linebacker of the group. They're calling Drew Sanders of Arkansas number 1, Trenton Simpson of Clemson number 2. If you are familiar with Henry To'o from Alabama. He's in the group. So you got names like that'll be working at D Winners of LSU, of TCU.
Yeah, he had a really good season.
If y'all remember that name, he will be a part of it today. Just to give you an idea of some of the guys you're going to see working out, it is at 2 o'clock today when they get started, and I will, I'm not ashamed to tell you, my DVR is set to record it. I love watching this stuff, Zay. I do. I get hooked on it. I'll watch it. I'll fast forward and rewind and watch 40s and cone drills and whatever they want to show me.
Yeah, I dig it. I mean, I know there's some people that are against the combine, but I absolutely love it. It's fun to see these guys get out there and showcase their talent and compare themselves to others. And, it's fun to see down the line guys that maybe don't do as well as you think, and they end up having Hall of Fame type careers. And then you see guys that go crazy at the combine and they end up being bust. Like, it's just so hard to be a GM in all the professional sports, especially the NFL, to try to find that, 7th-round Mr. Irrelevant type of guy, or make sure your guy's not a bust. Each pick is so important, and it all starts at the combine.
All right, coming up, one of our listeners is taking a little shot at Jalen Carter. I will tell them that they're just taking the wrong shot at Jalen Carter. We'll get into the crap bag as well, where I am ashamed at how excited I am for a sporting event this weekend. I'll tell you what it is on the Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and you got so many choices right now. I'm looking at it on my phone right now. NBA, NHL, college basketball, soccer, Major League Baseball, just to name a few. And with these pick'em games, it is so simple. You're picking whether your favorite player will have a higher or lower stat total in the game for your chance to win big. Example, Pascal Siakam of Toronto. They're at Washington tonight. 23.5 points, higher or lower. Or 5 assists, higher or lower. You check it out, you do your research, and you pick higher or lower. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game. Just pick between 2 and 5 players to build the pick'em entry, and if you get them all right, you win. Check out the Rivals picks as well. Check out the pick insurance option. It is so easy to do. We got tournament time coming up. There's going to be so much out there that you can use to put a pick'em game together. Sign up today with the promo code HORN. Get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. It's the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. It's Underdog Fantasy.
Chad and Zay.
Nothing against any woman that has ever served me in a diner, but none of them look like Donna Summer. I can't hear this song without thinking of that video. She works hard for the money. Donna Summer, this is what, 83, 84? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, Donna Summer. In her day, Zay, she ran the show for a while. She was awesome. Donna Summer and Van Halen getting us started today. Were you into Donna? Were you raised on Donna Summer a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Big time voice. Big time voice. And one of those few folks, I'm not a disco guy by nature. Donna could make me like disco. That Last Dance stuff and things when she pushed towards that way, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
She could make me believe it.
Yeah, it's just probably a Hall of Famer when it comes to skating ring music.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because you can't. There's certain songs of hers you got to have.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those. This is a big time hit.
Great groove. Great groove.
Yeah, it's good stuff. We'll talk music in that 2 o'clock hour segment. The album swap today should get interesting. Folks around the office want to know what I think of Only Built for Cuban Links by Raekwon and my daughter and another couple folks at the office. And I'm really interested in what Zay thinks of the Janelle Monáe album. I've only listened to the first track. And then I want you to tell me if I need to listen to the rest of it today.
Oh, Janelle Monáe's album?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that at 2 o'clock today. Let's get into the crap bag. We'll start with a listener comment on the Jalen Carter thing, and I think they're just ripping on the wrong thing.
Chad's crap bag.
Crap bag. If you need an easy way to remember it, just think of a bag of crap.
All right. It is brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Somebody texted as we were reading the statement from Jalen Carter. What a nice press release from Jalen Carter's agent and lawyers. I would disagree. That's not why you rip him. You rip him because every single letter is capitalized. There's no way he let his lawyers and agents read through that because I think they might have recommended he not do that. That's just a general PSA from me at 48 years old. And this isn't old to young. This is old to everyone that's gotten addicted to this practice, including my parents, specifically my mother, who's 77 years old now. We have got to calm down with all the exclamation points, and we've got to calm down with the capital letters. Please. Please. You need to know that that's screaming at people. Jalen Carter, every letter's capital. Every one of them. Explore the lowercase. Now, I don't want them all lowercase, Zay. That's one of my pet peeves about music nowadays. Stop it with every song being lowercase on the list. Or, God help us, the ones that go lowercase and space it all together and just put it all in one blob. Oh, it's so cool. It's my art form, man. The album, the song title's not that important. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Use capital letters and use spaces. What the hell are you doing?
Yo.
Come on.
That's funny that you say that. If Jalen Carter gets up to the podium today and says, all right, I'm only answering football questions. You owe him an apology.
Then we'll know. That's just the way he talks.
Yeah, he's just a loud speaker.
What is your name? Jalen Carter, Georgia. Yeah, so Jalen Carter is at the Combine today. He is answering all of those questions. The other thing I wanted to mention in the crap bag today, for all you UFC fans, you probably already know this, but Jon Jones is back this weekend, and he's one of those guilty pleasure guys for me. I am so ashamed at how much I love Jon Jones. He's
still on the juice?
He is, well, at this point, see, that's a...
How many times has he been on the juice?
That's a fair question.
How many times has he gotten caught on the stuff?
Technically, I think the answer to that is he got the no contest against Cormier for drugs once, but then there was I think twice is the answer to that question.
Jose Canseco somewhere saying, Bobby.
It cost him his belt once. He's got the story. We were talking about Jalen Carter, and did he possibly leave the scene? John had that leaving the scene of an accident that involved a pregnant woman, and there's just stuff with John. But he seems to get the benefit of the doubt. He seems to get forgiven by Dana White and UFC, and just when I try to feel like I'm upset at them for it, then I ask myself, well, aren't you excited to watch him fight, Chad? Yeah, I am. Now, do I think he should be fighting for the heavyweight belt? No.
Damn.
He's never fought as a heavyweight. Let me make sure we're clear on this. Jon Jones fought his whole career at 205, light heavyweight, and he may be the greatest, not maybe, he is the greatest MMA fighter I have ever seen, and he dominated, and he's got the most consecutive defenses, I think, in their history. He won 10 or 11 defenses in a row.
So didn't he have a thing with Cormier? What's his name?
He had a thing with Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, Dan Cormier. What? Oh boy, Husky. How is he not heavyweight?
They would fight at Daniel came down to 205 for those fights.
Yo.
I don't think they ever fought at heavyweight.
That's the huskiest 205
Yeah.
I've ever seen in my life.
Daniel's he was big 205, no doubt. And then Daniel went and ultimately won the heavyweight belt and was a champ at one point.
Okay.
But when it was all, if you're just talking fight for fight, John was always better than Daniel, and ultimately he ended up being better. But then it was all those little issues around him. It was so crazy. Stripped the belt for this reason. Vacated the belt last time he won the light heavyweight, and they had contract disputes and everything. But he's fighting Cyril Gane for the heavyweight belt. Kind of tells you about the heavyweight division, but I'm in Saturday night. I am 9 o'clock. ESPN Plus. Prelims are at 7. Other names you might know. Cody Garbrandt is on the prelim card. Derek Brunson's on the prelim card. And if you love a dominant female fighter, Valentina Shevchenko might be just about the best they've got right now. Nunez was in that discussion, and some others. Valentina Shevchenko is awesome. She is defending her belt as well. At that one makes me feel a little bit better because she feels a little more legit right now than kind of where John is. But Shevchenko is defending her 125 belt as well.
Yo, I'm in. That's basically you saying, I know I shouldn't love this, but I do so much.
I know. That's why I let in with I'm ashamed to tell you how much I love it. I am. I can see myself the last time John fought Daniel Cormier. And understand, Daniel Cormier is, for all accounts, a fantastic human being. Fantastic, right?
Great analyst, commentator, too.
Yeah, he's wonderful. The last time they fought, I was in a sports bar somewhere in the Houston area with my brother-in-law and a group of guys, and I'm screaming like a madman for John. I was, get him, John, tear him up, John. Yelling rude things about Cormier, I'm sure.
Damn.
I am a Jon Jones mark. It's just kind of who I am. I remember watching him right as he was making the run towards the title, and just the most dominant fighter I have seen. So I want to know now what he looks like at heavyweight. And remember, there's a range at heavyweight. He can weigh 206. He could also weigh 265. And he can weigh anything in between. That's the range of heavyweight at UFC. You can be anything in there. Walk in 220. Not walk in, weigh in. You can weigh in at 220, 245, 265. You just can't weigh 266.
Yeah.
That's it. And I don't think they let you weigh 204 or 205. I think you have to get to that 206 mark. I think that's the range. But that will be Saturday night. There you go. Also, did you see this Joe Montana jersey story for people that are into auctions and crap like that?
Nuh-uh.
Montana, the jersey he wore in Super Bowl 19 to beat Marino, and in Super Bowl 23, the comeback against the Bengals, it sold at auction for $1.212 million. One jersey.
So does Joe get any of that paper?
I think ultimately, yeah, I guess it's, well.
He has to, right?
I'm
way.
I'm assuming he does. There's a lot of his stuff that just went up for auction. I'm assuming
Right.
on some level he gets a lot of that. They got Notre Dame stuff, Niners stuff. And this breaks the record. There was a Brady jersey that had sold for a whole lot.
Yeah.
Not 1.2.
Hey, because if they ain't paying Joe, he going to hit up, yo, OJ, I got a job for you.
Come on, man. He's not calling OJ. Nobody's calling OJ.
How'd you get that jersey back?
Nobody's calling. How'd you get the jersey back? I was on the juice. That's all I'm going to say. I was on the juice. There's a crap bag for you. Coming up, it is your 1 o'clock hour. Jeff Howe, horns247.com, is going to come in, hang with us. We'll talk Longhorn stuff, his thoughts on the Longhorns at the Combine, and maybe this Jalen Carter story as well, plus his thoughts on what Texas looked like last night against TCU. Rough loss. Can't get a part of that conference title now. Where will they end up? We'll talk to Jeff about it next on The Horn. Oh, yes, indeed. Hour number 2. Just let the Curtis Mayfield wash over you. Hopefully it'll make your Thursday a little bit better. Watch out for that weather. It is coming for you. It's got to be bad if my phone is telling me in 2 different languages. I haven't gotten a third language yet, but yesterday in English and Spanish and today in English and Spanish, I've been told that something's coming. So be careful. Tie stuff down. Get ready for rain and thunderstorms and maybe tornadic activity coming to our area this evening. It's Chad and Zay on a Thursday. I'm Chad Hastings. Isaiah Collier is here as always. He's getting ready for some weather. And we got our special guest. The Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina Hotline brings us all the guests, although he's sitting right here in studio with us. He is Jeff Howe, horns247.com, Longhorn Blitz Podcast, Light the Tower, 10 to noon. He's a busy, busy man, but he made time for us. What's up, man?
Special like a Scott Baio after school special, or special like half off of yams at the grocery store or something?
How about special like a Willie Ames after school special?
Okay, appreciate that.
We're going serious now.
Can we just discuss
with the full flowing curls?
Can we just discuss the greatness of Maxwell Jacob Friedman while we're as we were doing during the break?
If you and I did that, I don't know how many people would turn away and how many people would love us for it.
And you know what, Chad? You know what's great about that? Ask me if I care.
I know, exactly. No, Jeff and I, when we get together, we do end up talking pro wrestling, and we were talking about our favorite heel right now, MJF in AEW. He is unbelievable.
I mean, I've got a picture of him shortly after the death of Franco Harris. He took a picture of himself in the Pittsburgh airport violating the Franco Harris statue.
Yes. Wow. That is something that happened. That is real.
I don't know if pelvic thrusts were involved, but I'm going to go ahead and guess by the nature of that picture they were.
That is so wrong. And I'll just let everybody else know what I told Jeff. I'm battling with myself because there's an AEW pay-per-view on Sunday, and I've not paid for an AEW pay-per-view yet, but I'm watching all their stuff, and MJF is such a good heel, I might actually watch a pay-per-view this weekend, and it's kind of got me freaked out.
I don't think I've bought a wrestling pay-per-view since 2006 it's probably 2007.
See? And that's not making me feel any better. Right? I can't. Right, exactly. It may have been that long for me.
So you're going John Jones and AEW?
Oh, right into John Jones. See? That's good thought.
You're wildin'.
See, I'm cheap.
I know football season's over, but man.
Good grief. That's the thing I got to consider,
Idle
too.
hands, Zay. Idle hands for your co-host.
That's why that's why I got to stay away from the wrestling one, because I got to watch John Jones because I'm sick about that. Anyway. All right. So, Jeff, there's a lot of different ways we could go here, but I wanted to start with we'll get around to basketball and what that wasn't last night. But talk to me about these combine guys today. We've got the defensive guys with Overshone, with Coburn and Ojimo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are the 3.
Yep.
So for you, who has the best chance to improve the stock? Who has the best chance to really, show off today and get some attention?
Probably Overshone, because he's looked at as a day 2 guy anyway. Can he solidify himself in that day 2 mix? I would say him. I think the NFL will value Coburn and Ojimo for different reasons. I think for Coburn, it'll be about the production because it was there. Like, I'll use the Longhorn Blitz podcast as an example. Rod, Matt, and I were sitting here a year ago thinking that, hey, in 2021, Coburn played way too much, and you probably need to decrease his snaps, give more of those to Byron Murphy, give more of those to Alfred Collins or whoever we were talking about at the time. And Keandre Coburn, you can make an argument, was the most consistently disruptive interior lineman in the Big 12 last year. Look at pressure rates. So the production is there. He's going to interview well. He's a locker room guy. So I think they'll like him. And there's, as football becomes more situational, there is room for a 330-pound, 340-pound nose who can get after the quarterback. There's a place for that guy in the NFL. I think Ojimo, they'll value him differently because for 2 things. One, the versatility to play multiple shades, and the fact that he's so young.
Right.
Like, this is a guy that you could feel comfortable, like, he might not be ready for a year or 2, but so that means we can just stash him away on the practice squad for a year or 2 and just let him mature a little bit. Or you realize that, hey, maybe we've got a guy that is ready to give us something right now. Yeah, Ojimo's draft profile somewhat similar to Malcolm Roach's. I don't know if he'll test as well as Roach did, but I think their draft profiles are a little bit similar. And Malcolm Roach is still in the league. So I think Moro Ojomo's got a chance. That his age, though, is really intriguing.
How old is he?
I got to go back and look. I think he's still 20.
Wow.
He's either 20 or 21.
I forgot he came in so young.
He had just turned 17.
Yeah, I
when
forgot
he got to
about
campus.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember those comments about not being able to, not being able to vote. Not being right, not quite 18 years old, not an adult
So
yet.
he turned. I think he turned 21 in August.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is big.
Jeff, obviously the Jalen Carter thing is going to shake up, the draft just a little bit.
You think?
But yeah, I definitely think. But Bijan Robinson, the fact that he's doing all of these drills at the combine when we know he doesn't have to, we know he's probably going to be the first running back selected. If he's not, then that GM needs to be fired the next day right after the draft. And you saw the pictures of his body, like, he's seriously getting his body right. That's like putting tinted windows on a Bentley.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. But what can he benefit from working out and doing all these drills and, just being in Indianapolis as a whole?
I think for him, it's not so much solidifying himself as RB1. It's, can you make a team that might want to wait for you in the early to mid 20s, or maybe even think, hey, we can get you the back end of the first round? Can you make a team value you enough to where, no, if he's there at like 15, 16, you got to go up and get him because he won't be there by the time you pick it.
That it makes him nervous.
23 or 24. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for Bijan, that's great because that's more guaranteed money. The higher you're drafted with the slotted contracts. So yeah, I think that's what he can do. My comp for Bijan, and look, 3-cone test really matters to him. So does 5-10-5 because it's short area quickness, which is a big part of his game. Everybody's going to be looking at the 40. My comp for him for a while now has been LaDainian Tomlinson. I went back and looked at it. LaDainian Tomlinson ran a 4.46 at the combine when he came out in 2001. So I think if Bijan can be, I think as long as he is sub 4.5, then I think everything else is gravy at that point. But yeah, I think that's what it is for him. Can he put on an impress? I don't see him having a bad combine, but if he doesn't blow people away with the workouts, I think the tape is what it is. And people say, okay, well, we can still grab him in the first round. We'll just do it at, the mid 20s, or if you're a team that wants to get back into the first round late and the price tag isn't too high, you can go do that. But for me, if I'm Bijan, I'm going to force someone's hand. No, you got to go up to get me.
Yeah, I dig that.
This workout.
I dig that LaDainian comp, and he actually has LaDainian by height and weight too.
Yeah, people forget like LaDainian Tomlinson had a season before the NFL was the space and pace league it is now. He caught 100 balls. We talk about McCaffrey and Kamara and all these guys. Like LaDainian Tomlinson was a 100-catch guy.
Yeah.
From Breeze?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Before Drew ripped that shoulder up.
As a matter of fact, that might have been a Phillip Rivers offense. I'll go back and look, but yeah.
Ooh, that's right. It might have been.
People forget how versatile LaDainian Tomlinson was.
I love LT.
Yeah, that's a good comp, and I think obviously a team would love to have a guy of that level. Jeff Howe joining us in studio, talking a lot of football, a lot of different things. Back to the Jalen Carter thing. Yesterday we were talking about different guys, different examples.
Yeah, 2003. I'm trying to think. That still would have been
Breeze.
Breeze.
Still
That's
true.
Breeze.
Yeah,
so that was I caught 100 freaking balls.
That's incredible. We were talking about guys that slipped in the draft a little bit because of the various stories, and Warren Sapp came into my mind, and we talked about Tunsil. I heard Harge mention Lyle Collins as that was a story I'd sort of forgotten about. But I don't ever remember it being the first guy they were talking about to go off the board. So this Jalen Carter thing for you, the fact that he's in Indianapolis today, the fact that he got booked and they got the charges dealt with in terms of an arraignment date, and he bonded out or whatever, and he's back in Indianapolis facing the music today. Does that impress you? Where are you on this Jalen Carter thing?
Because
he
doesn't have to do that. You can hide behind your attorneys and listen to what your representation and the people close to you say, like, hey, stay away, just let this blow over. Or you can do what I think is always the best policy: just rip that Band-Aid off and deal with it and answer whatever questions within, the legalities that you can answer, and just be done with it at that point. Just get out in front. So, yeah, that's impressive. I dig that.
I agree. And then as long as he's got the explanation for, we always say it only takes one team. If he explains it 32 times and they all think he's a diabolical human being, that's one thing. It only takes one of those teams to go, all right, I buy that. And then they're checking the box and they're moving on.
I mean, hey, look, the guy I think about, not the guy that slipped, but I think about the worst first-round picks ever. Remember when the Jaguars took Matt Jones in the first round?
Yes.
The Arkansas quarterback as a wide receiver?
Yeah.
Like, this guy had – I was listening to one of those draft throwbacks. It was Mike Mayock before he left for the Raiders on the NFL Network. He's like, this is a kid that had drug red flags, alcohol red flags, work ethic red flags. Oh, and he's a position conversion. And in the era before you had tiered rookie contracts, now you're just going to throw a bunch of money at him. Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for success.
I remember that one. Yeah, that was rough. That was rough.
Damn, Jags. All right, Jeff, let's talk about this Texas football team a little bit. You know, with Bijan and Roschon leaving, this wide receiver core has to be better. Like last year, you just can't have another year of that. And we know a little bit of that goes to wide receivers, a little bit of that goes to Sark, a little bit of that goes to Quinn Ewers, which makes a lot of inconsistencies.
Plenty of blame to go around.
Yeah, plenty of blame to go around. But, you know, with how deep the wide receiver room is right now and having A.D. Mitchell coming along and you got Moore and Jonte Cook as freshmen fighting for spots, it'll probably allow Xavier Worthy to go back to his normal position. What does Quinn Ewers have to do to just make his life easier? Because we know a lot of pressure is going to be on him just because we know who's coming off the bench or who's on the depth chart.
Malik Murphy?
Exactly. And Arch Manning. But at what Quinn Ewers has to simplify the game and Sark has to help him simplify the game, how do you think they could do that going into next year?
I think it's just being so in tune with the offense that you know where your safety valves are. And we saw that in the bowl game. Like I keep going back to the bowl game, and we can talk about a lot of what was wrong with the offense in the bowl game. But again, one of the things that I liked, and I think it was an area of growth for Quinn, it was an area of growth for Sark. The fact that you got into that second half and when you realized, okay, whether it's Washington taking it away or the fact that Xavier Worthy is having a problem hanging on to the football, the vertical game's just not going to be there. But they're going to give you the short and intermediate stuff. Can you be patient enough to take it? And we know with the running game not really working, they kind of had to. And that's when we started seeing them move the football. And they were able to move it consistently. They were able to get into a rhythm. I don't know why Sark didn't do that more. And I know Quinn and Sark both, they're big game hunters. They want that deep shot. They want to land the haymaker. But sometimes, you know, kind of like boxing, you got to work the body a little bit. And that's how you work the body. It's, you know, your perimeter screen game, that becomes an extension of your run game when you can't run the football. And, you know, it's not a knock against your manhood or anything like that when you take short and intermediate stuff, because that's a really good way to get your offense into a rhythm and move the football. So if Quinn can be in tune with the offense, if those two can be on the same page in terms of, hey, here's what you're seeing, here's what they're giving you, can you identify and recognize what they're giving you, and then can you go take advantage of it? He did that in the second half of the bowl game. Can he build on that? And by the time you get to the opener, we see a guy who's not just a talented thrower of the football who happens to be your starting quarterback. You've got a guy that is becoming a quarterback, a commander of the offense that understands what he's in. Now you're talking about this offense can start going places. Everything else falls into place once your quarterback and your play caller are on the same page. It's got to be, I know this is kind of a coach speak cliche thing. Quinn or whoever it is, Malik Murphy, Arch Manning, whoever it is, the best offenses are when you see, like I think of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. The best offenses we see at any level of football are when the quarterback becomes an extension of the play caller. It's almost like the play caller saying, if I was out there running this offense, how would I want it run? Those are the best quarterbacks. Like Bill Walsh, with whether it's Joe Montana or Steve Young, like the best offenses you've seen, it's when that play caller and the quarterback are on the same page. It's almost one is an extension of the other.
Jeff, before we let you go, your biggest concern for this Texas basketball team right now after last night and knowing what's coming?
That when they got into a hole in the first half, that the offense just reverted to everybody kind of stand around, watch Marcus Carr dribble down the shot clock, and then force something late. That can still, there's a lot to be concerned about. There's some stuff Zay, I think you know this. There's some stuff that this team just isn't going to be able to fix. Like, there's going to be some games where they're going to lose the rebounding battle. Just period. I mean, and granted, effort and positioning and sense of urgency can help you close the gap, but there's just going to be some teams that are better rebounding teams than you. The one thing that I didn't like, though, was the lack of sense of urgency on offense where the ball wasn't moving. Guys weren't moving without the ball. There was no emphasis on moving without the ball. And when the ball gets stuck, it ends up in Marcus Carr's hand. And then I think he feels like, okay, I got to be the guy that does something here. When if everybody just gets into the flow of the offense, you don't have to do that. And we've seen when they get into the flow of the offense, you get guys coming off screens. You can get guys, backdoor cutting. You can get guys good looks in this offense. But that, to me, is really worrisome. Those long scoring droughts or droughts where you're going 4 or 5 minutes without a field goal, that stuff will get you out of the tournament real quick. And that's been a problem all year, and that's the thing that worries me is because unlike, rebounding or anything like that where it's about, physical limitations or your depth or whatever, moving without the ball on offense is something you control. That's something you can fix, and it hasn't been fixed yet, but then they got to find a way to figure that out.
Yeah, when I knew it was a serious problem was a couple of games ago, and Timmy Allen had that damn 5-second violation.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a 5-second violation since I ref middle school back in the day. I'm dead serious.
Seen one in a while.
I haven't seen one in a while, and that shows zero movement.
Yeah.
That's like zero movement there. If you're just holding the ball, looking around, and everybody else on the other side is just standing, chilling, waiting for you, and like you said, Jeff, it gets back in Marcus Carr's hands, and he has to force something up, and now the team, they're becoming fatigued. We're at the end of the season. We're here in March, and that's why this 9-man rotation I've been so adamant about having it. You're not getting none out of Dylan Mitchell. You're not getting none out of Christian Bishop except for a hurt chin. It's like, damn, we gotta bring something offensively, and you can't go on those droughts like you said. And that's what we saw a lot last year, like deja vu with Courtney Ramey and Andrew Jones.
Yeah.
Like they would go in the droughts like 10-minute, 7-minute, 9-minute droughts sometimes, and they'd be working so hard defensively, but they're not the biggest guys. Like they can't just use their length and use their athleticism. Like they have to really exert a ton of energy, and that's why they get killed on the boards a lot of the time.
But I think too, if you look at the rebounding, like last night in particular, like go look at the rebounding numbers for TCU's guards. That's the disturbing thing and that is about positioning and effort and timing. When your guards are getting, you get the disparity between the guards' rebounding numbers are just so wide. That's and that to me is where, if Tyrese Hunter, and it's probably too late to expect this, if Tyrese Hunter can get to the point where he can be a complete player over the minutes that he's on the floor, he is a really good rebounder. As a matter of fact, of the guards, he might be your best rebounding guard.
Right.
Just because he is physical, he can throw his body around there, and with his ability to leap, it kind of negates whatever he loses in the height advantage if he can time it well and position himself right. And Tyrese shot the ball well last night. I think that's encouraging, but we've kind of been waiting all year for Tyrese Hunter to be consistent, and it just hasn't happened yet. So, but I'm with you, Zay. Like Dylan Mitchell, and that's why I asked RT about it earlier in the week. Like Dylan Mitchell, you can say he's hitting a wall, you can say whatever, but at some point you either got to get more from him or you got to cut his minutes. And when you get into one of those funks, you're basically like, okay, what's the best? You're on the Argo principle. Like, what's the best bad idea we've got right now to generate some offense? It might be just rolling with Arterio Morris because he's going to have one of those plays that just makes you put your head in your hands, and go, oh, good Lord, like why is he even on the floor right now? But you're going to have to live with that, knowing, he could have 3 straight possessions where he just pulls up in transition and knocks down 3 threes in a row. Like you might have to live with the bad Arterio Morris because the good Arterio Morris can get you out of those funks.
It's funny that you say that because he could get a shot anytime he wants.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's a good shot, but he could get a shot anytime he wants, and that's huge. Like that crossover he had, who was it against? Like a crossover pull-up jumper. I want to say it was against Oklahoma, but maybe
it's either the Oklahoma game or the West Virginia game. I know
West Virginia, and it was nasty. He just has something about him, but he'll turn the ball over in a heartbeat, or let
a guy go by him on defense,
smooth blow by.
All right, that is Jeff Howe, horns247.com. Check out all the stuff there. If you missed the Longhorn Blitz podcast this week, go check it out wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, it is Thursday. So 7 o'clock tonight, you get Longhorn Weekly with Coach Terry talking about everything from last night and where that team is. Longhorn Blitz podcast replay at 8 o'clock. Light the Tower every day, 10 to noon. And he just might be checking out MJF on that. Maybe on the pay-per-view this weekend.
I'll be honest, I'll be looking for an illegal stream.
The old illegal stream. All right.
The old
bootleg cable, I feel that.
Zay, you know how many Brock Lesnar UFC fights I've watched, like finding the rogue Twitch stream or something?
I respect that.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That happens
I
as
was like,
well.
what are you doing? I was like, I'm watching a Brock Lesnar fight on Twitter before this one gets taken down, too.
Oh, ask Chad. I was trying to get bootleg Girl Scout cookies from some girl on the east side a few weeks ago.
That is true.
Like,
He said,
I'm
I'll
always
get
from the.
he said,
always want the low.
He said, I'll get back with you. I'm trying to find a deal. Like, what do you mean a deal? What do you mean? He's like, I think I got a discount somewhere. Okay, I respect it.
I didn't know there was a bootleg Girl Scout cookie market.
Oh yeah, there's some hustlers out there. You'd be surprised. There's some serious hustlers out there slanging them things.
Thin mint spelled with 2 T's.
They got them lemonades. They got them lemonades out there.
Instead of caramel delights, he's them caramel ites.
Is that like when you go to the bag cereal section in the cereal aisle?
Yeah,
like,
Mata Mill type stuff. Yeah,
fruity Dino Bites instead of fruity.
Oh yeah,
Pebbles.
ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, nobody look down your nose at Malto Meal. It's fruity gems are just as good as fruity pebbles or whatever we're talking about.
Yeah.
Don't
sleep.
And next Girl Scout cookie season, if you haven't tried the lemonades, it's a good call. The lemonade is a good cookie.
Good call. If you've ever had the lemon cookies at Maggiano's, it's almost a vis-a-vis carbon copy.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had them over there. So I can do that year round, and then Girl Scout cookies once a year.
Yes, you can.
Okey
Like you
dokey.
need an excuse to go to Maggiano's.
I was gonna say exactly. That is Jeff Howe.
Thanks, Jeff.
He joins us
No problem,
every
boys.
Thursday around this time.
And I don't know if I'll be here next Thursday because next Thursday's Pro Day on the 40.
Oh, that's right.
Ooh.
Okay. So we might have to either talk to another talented individual from horns247.com or come up with our own conversation.
Might have to.
That's a challenge either way.
Make that call to the bullpen.
You call to the pin. We'll figure that one out next Thursday. Up next, it is the Flex 30 segment. Some Flex alums that will be a part of the Combine, and the basketball playoffs continue. That's coming up on the Horn. All right, let's talk a little sinus and snoring specialist. If you've heard me talk about Dr. Slaughter and his crew, they do incredible work. Last night I was able to get a little more sleep than I had been the couple nights before, and it feels so good waking up in the morning, knowing that I've slept the way I'm supposed to. Breathing in and out through my nose sounds real simple, but I was a mouth breather back in the day when I went to see Dr. Slaughter the first time. 85% blocked in my nasal passages, just meaning I was having to, breathe through my mouth a little more, and that's not what you want to be doing. I had moderate obstructive sleep apnea. I had the allergy issues that a lot of people have in this area. They got rid of my allergies for good. They can do the same for you. If you've got sinus issues and sinus headaches, sinus infections that bother you a few times a year, they can deal with that and get rid of it. Again, we got this crazy weather right now. It's warm one day and then it changes and then rain comes in and it can really mess with you, but it doesn't mess with me anymore. Knock on wood. I haven't had any of those issues since 2017. Dr. Slaughter has over 20 years of experience in ear, nose, and throat technology. So many different choices out there that they've got for you, surgical and non-surgical options. Call and set up your appointment today. You will love the way you're treated. 512-601-0303 or go to sinussnoringent.com. It's Sinus and Snoring Specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy.
Chad and Zay.
Boy, you do a good job of picking metal bands that are just outside of my knowledge. You do a really good job of this. Man.
This is 1985.
85. Man. I'm going to stay away from the band I always guess. Halloween. I have no idea.
Gravestone.
That wasn't happening. No. Gravestone.
I love the night.
I'm starting to think you're making these band names up.
Yo,
honestly.
somebody on the Specs text line's messing with it.
Dude, you went cloven hoof on me this week, and it freaked me out. Gravestone. I've never heard of Gravestone. All right, Gravestone, Donna Summer, and Van Halen. Normally when I get that same feeling, I go with Saxon, and I'm usually never right. I got it once, I think, on Saxon. Decided to stay away from that. And the Halloween guy could scream a little bit, so I tried it. All right, Gravestone there for you. Coming up at 2, we'll get into some couple of album discussions, a little different than Gravestone. Zay's going to be talking Janelle Monáe, and I'm going to be talking Raekwon, technically Raekwon and Ghostface Killah.
That's right.
For the Cuban Links album. We'll get into that coming up at the top of the 2 o'clock hour, another album swap discussion. If you want to catch the other album swap discussions or some of the other stuff we have for you on that YouTube page, go subscribe so you won't miss anything. Thank you to our 760 subscribers. We're working our way towards 800, and ultimately we hope 1,000 and beyond that. So thank you so much for supporting us, and you can always check out hornfm.com as well. Lots of stuff going on, including the high school basketball playoffs. We'll hit a little bit of that and some of the flex guys, local guys that are going to be in the combine this week. Here we go.
Flex ATX for the best high school sports coverage. Listen to the Horn and go to FLXATX.com. Flex 30 is brought to you by Brain Vault. Brain Vault is a revolutionary and patented mouthguard that has been proven to help reduce the risk of concussion. Visit BrainVault.com and join the movement.
So first off, we'll just get you set up for what we believe is a doubleheader down there in San Antonio this week. If you want to go check out that San Marcos team, they're taking on Warren, and I see it listed here on Flex as a 5:30 start, so it must be the doubleheader, and then that Stony Point game with Brennan is after that. So if you want to go see those two teams, San Marcos and Stony Point, trying to advance, if they each win, they'll play each other.
Man.
In the, what would that be, regional final, right? So these are the regional semis we're at now, so it'd be the regional final. And
yeah, this is basically the Sweet 16.
And they have to go back-to-back, right? They would have to play Friday and
Saturday, yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, that's serious coaching. So
survive in advance.
Yeah, you always see, because it's so hard. If you're Antoine Thompson, you would like to watch the first game. But how much do you watch and how much do you lock into that and not get your team locked in for their game right after? So,
yeah,
you know,
that's where I'd rather be the San Marcos guys.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to
win.
Yeah, the team that wins, it'll be nice to just stick around and see who you play tomorrow. But, yeah, Coach Thompson, he's going to have to figure out where he uses his time, because I know he's going to want to check that San Marcos and Warren game out, and he has a lot of good assistants that are definitely scouting, you know, Coach Button and my homie Donald Dallas that I grew up playing basketball with. They all do a good job. So, yeah, that's not going to be too much of an issue, but that is a thing that they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, we'll set you up for some of those matchups and more as we get into tomorrow. But again, check that out down there. That's at the North Side ISD Gym where those games are going to be. So we'll continue to talk about that this week. Also, we mentioned the Combine starts today for D linemen and linebackers, but the Flex crew also wants to remind you that there are some local area talents that are trying to make a name at the Combine. Some names you may remember from the past. Let's just start with Zay's alma mater, shall we? Former Bowie Bulldog and now former Stanford Cardinal, Zay, Elijah Higgins is in this Combine.
One of the best athletes to come out of Bowie High School. We're talking about alongside guys like Victor Ike and Michael and Marcus Griffin. Elijah Higgins is right there when it comes to athleticism. And he didn't have the numbers of those guys, but Stanford, they took a big chance on him being the 4-star player, around 230, 6'3", insane athleticism, man. Listen to this, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
He played basketball his sophomore year, and then he decided to just focus on football for obvious reasons. I mean, look at him. He's getting ready for the combine now in 2023. But my pops, I don't see him get too down often on guys just choosing to stick to the other sport and not play both basketball and football or basketball, baseball, something like that. He was a little hurt.
Was he?
When Elijah said he ain't playing no more. He didn't tell Elijah that because he wants the best for him. But I remember him telling me, like, yeah, we're losing Elijah. He's just going to play football. That's going to hurt us because he's just that big of an athlete. Like, he played center for my pops and them. He used to duck the ball, and he was only a sophomore, and he was a big part of that team that they had, during my pop's tenure. So I'm very proud of what he did at Stanford. I didn't think he got enough touches there. We know the struggles that they've had in recent years, just being at the bottom of the Pac-12. But hopefully Elijah, I've been seeing like 6th round for him. Hopefully he could find a team and find a roster where he could fit, because he's a crazy athlete. He might not have the tight routes that you would like at the wide receiver position, maybe like a Quentin Johnston or a Jordan Addison. But man, 6'3", again, 230. It's going to be interesting what he runs with the 40. If he makes a good time, if he gets up there at 4.3, which I think he could be. He'll probably be around 4.4. But if he somehow can finesse his way up in the 4.3 and turn some heads.
At that size?
That'd
be impressive.
Look out.
He's in kind of a top 15 list here that I'm looking at of the wide receivers in this combine. To give you an idea, the guy right ahead of him in the grading is Marvin Mims at Oklahoma. The guy right behind him is C.J. Johnson from East Carolina. So Elijah Higgins, a name to pay attention to from this area. Jalen Hyatt, the young man from Tennessee, is on top of the list, in case you're wondering. A lot of talented wide receivers this year. Head over to FLXATX.com. You can check out Elijah. You can check out Deuce Vaughn and some of the other guys from this area that are in the combine. Just to run them down real quick, give them their love. Cedar Ridge, of course, was Deuce Vaughn. We'll see where he fits into things. Miles Brooks, class of 19 out of Hendrickson High School. He's done at Louisiana Tech. He's going to try to make a name for himself as well. And what was the other one they mentioned? Oh, yes, O'Shawn Mathis out of Manor. Shout out to all those Mustang fans. He has done it in Nebraska, and O'Shawn is hoping to make a name for himself. Congrats and best of luck to all those guys getting ready for the combine. 2 o'clock this afternoon is when the D-line and linebackers get started.
Yeah, Deuce Vaughn, he's going to be interested in the league. I mean, he was so good at Kansas State. He was definitely a steal. I know us Horn fans were hurt to see him leave the area and do what he did in the Big 12, especially what he did to us, this past year. And getting them a Big 12 title, he's going to be a punt return, kick return, Darren Sproles type of guy. I mean, obviously there's a comparison there. Both of them Wildcats at Kansas State, but just him at his size, gadget guy. Obviously, there's no such thing as every down backs in the NFL, so that's perfect for somebody like him. We saw the Eagles, they used 3 running backs this season, so if he could get into maybe that type of situation, I think that'd be perfect for him.
Eagles, Chiefs,
yeah,
Niners would do something with him. I mean, all these teams that are clever, all these teams that are inventive, that's something I think where he would work. By the way, you need to go to FLXATX.com to see this little montage of pictures they put together for Deuce Vaughn. It does include him with the Big 12 championship trophy, smoking a cigar, with the smoke hanging in the air. It's pretty nice.
Didn't we beat them? My God, that's why we beat them, right?
I know that doesn't make you feel good, Zay, as a Longhorn fan. I'm just saying it's a cool-looking picture.
It is a dope picture.
Yeah, it is. Flex segment every day at 1:30. Best of luck to those guys in the combine. We'll get the album swap discussion going at 2, right about the time they get fired up there in Indianapolis with the workouts. Up next, though, it's Where We At in Society with Zay. Also, be sure you stick around for 2:30 today because we'll get into those Mike McCarthy comments. Have you not heard what Big Mike had to say about Kellen Moore on the way out the door? Good grief. We'll get back into that at 2:30. Stay with us. It's The Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk Underdog Fantasy once again. Easiest place to play fantasy sports. Football season may be over for you, but there's so many different ways to put a pick'em game together. We've got the tournament coming up in college basketball. There's going to be a lot of options there. NBA cranked up for its second half. Now that Durant is back, that might be a good pick'em game rather to put together. Just take Durant, find that stat, and go higher. That would be my recommendation after what we saw last night. Pick whether your favorite player will have a higher or lower stat total in the game for your chance to win big. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. You get them all right, and you win. And remember, you can mix it up. You can go one NBA guy, one Major League Baseball player, and maybe a college basketball player. You can do that. Mix it up however you want. Go with the stuff that you think you can get right. And again, if you end up getting it right, you could win up to 20 times your money in a single game. I've got it loaded on my phone. You can do that real simple. Get the app on there. It's a lot of fun to have that going on during games. Sign up today with the promo code HORN and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Get yourself a pick'em game going today at Underdog Fantasy.
Chad and Zay.
All right, rolling through a Thursday, first day of the Combine. Workouts getting started here in about 10 minutes. Overshone, Coburn, Ojimo, the Longhorns involved. And Jalen Carter's there answering all the questions today, even though he's not working out. All right, Zay, this one I think I've got. Joe Walsh, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, so this is – oh, geez. So Life's Been Good is the other big hit. This is – what is this one called? I can't remember. What is it?
Rocky Mountain Top.
Rocky
Mountain Way, I mean.
Rocky
Sorry.
Mountain Way. That's what it is. Rocky Mountain Way. Joe Walsh. Gravestone earlier. Donna Summer and Van Halen have all been a part of the show. We appreciate Zay for all that great music. Coming up, we'll get you the album swap discussion. Zay's going to talk a little Janelle Monáe. That's why my mouth wouldn't work correctly. And I'm going to be talking some Raekwon and Ghostface Killah with a little help from RZA and Only Built for Cuban Links, the 95 album from the Wu-Tang Clan. The individual album run that they had. Zay decided I should listen to all 5. So this is 3 out of the 5 that I've listened to now. So we'll get into that in the 2 o'clock hour. We've got obviously basketball on the brain after TCU beats Texas last night, takes away the regular season Big 12 possibilities for Texas. That is all Bill Self now. Kansas gets it all again. Zay.
Every freaking year.
Again. You realize how bored they are seeing that trophy? You realize how ordinary that is for him now? How many do they have? Is it like 15 out of 16 or whatever?
That's why you go there.
Man.
That's why you go there. They've been dominating the Big 12 as long as it's existed, from Wayne Simeon guys to Kurt Heinrich and Nick Collison.
Yep.
Guys like Keith Langford and last year's team with Christian Brown and Oshai Abashi. They just Bill Self. They just continue to do it.
Yeah.
It's very impressive.
Rinse, fog, and repeat. That's what they do all the time. So congrats to Kansas. To the victor go the spoils. Texas got to rebound and recover and find something to play for against Kansas on Saturday. Obviously, it's senior night, and it's last day at the Moody, 3 o'clock tip on Saturday. Get on out there and support them. They're going to need a little pick-me-up, and I know the fans are going to bring it to them because that's what they've been doing all year long. All right, let's get into where we're at in society, see what Zay's got for us today.
Where are we at in society today?
All right, Zay, do I have something to check out on Twitter, or what are we doing?
Yes, check it out.
All right.
I just sent it to you. So we pick back up where we left off with Juju Smith-Schuster and A.J. Brown and the Eagles and the pettiness. It has continued.
Okay.
So we knew right after the game, it was Valentine's Day, where Juju Smith-Schuster posted on his account like a picture, like Valentine's Day card of James Bradbury, and it said, "I will hold you by any means," or something like that. Something that had to do with hold, and we know James Bradbury held Juju Smith-Schuster, which allowed the Chiefs to kick the field goal and end up winning the game.
Right.
So now there's a pretty big-time comedian influencer guy that focuses on sports. His name's Brendan Clinton. He's hilarious.
Okay.
And he's so famous because he'll actually pretend to be a coach / different players on different football teams from NFL to college. So he'll pretend he's, for example, let's say, Steve Sarkisian or something like that.
Okay.
And he'll pretend to be a random player that mucked up earlier in the week. So let's say Quinn Ewers threw a horrible pass interception. He'll play as he's Steve Sarkisian and Quinn Ewers, and he'll do like a skit basically clowning what they would say if they were ridiculous comedians in the film room.
Okay.
So he's become very famous for that. And him and Juju, they've teamed up to make a video about the Eagles.
Yeah, because that's actually Juju, isn't it?
That's actually Juju.
Oh, my goodness.
So
Okay.
Juju, we know Juju's a big TikTok guy. He loves being an influencer, social media guy. That's what he really became famous for in his Pittsburgh days. Like, he was good his rookie year and stuff, but everybody started to remember him for dancing on the field. You remember all that? The TikTok?
Yep.
Yeah, so he loves his TikTok. And A.J. Brown, he's had it. Like, he's had it. He went out on social media, on Twitter yesterday and said, Juju, you really need to find somebody else to play with. Don't let that ring get you beat the F up, because I'm with all the dumb ish. I'm not going to speak on it anymore. He also DM'd Juju on Instagram and said, I don't play them kids games. If you want to see me, I'm with it. You better go to Cabo, enjoy your ring, and stop effing playing with me. Leave me off all your TikTok-ish. And he called him a wussy, but switched the W with a P, and you know what he called him there.
Yeah, right.
So, in this video, which we're going to play a little audio, it's pretty hilarious.
Okay.
Brendan Clinton, he pretends to be Jalen Hurts, James Bradbury, and somebody else, Davis. I don't know who Davis is. The only person I can think of Davis on the Eagles is their lineman. Jordan Davis.
Maybe.
So you hear him in this audio, but it's pretty hilarious. Take a listen.
Okay.
All right, now corners didn't even show up. Right? It's like we went to Jordan Peele's barber. All right, just take a look at Davis. Right? You pissed down your leg and you held him like a press conference. All right, let's bring it back. Right? You pissed down your leg and you pulled him like a kick dog. Man, it wasn't even his fault. You know, I think it's funny how y'all coaches want to seem stressed now.
That's supposed to be Jalen Hurts right there.
Y'all wasn't making no alterations to the game plan. Y'all was just like a stiff man catching a twerk. Y'all ain't know how to adjust to the motion. And after Rihanna killed half like Thanos, they was using Juju more than Nigerians. Y'all ain't do nothing about it. Well, I guess it's safe to say we all dropped the ball then, huh? And I'm going. I'll see y'all next year. Just make sure y'all get my money right. I'm doing whatever he does. Sit your ass down, Davis. Damn, so this never would have happened if your mama was at corner. She couldn't hold on to a man if she tried.
So
wow. Okay.
He's hilarious. Like, he's made videos on Texas. He's made videos on Clemson, etc.
But this is like Juju theoretically went to him, or they came together and they're specifically going after the Eagles.
Yeah, that's just a snippet.
Okay.
It's about a 2-minute video, and they're like,
wow,
pretending to kidnap Juju and stuff.
Yeah, I saw the beginning. That was pretty wild.
But if you're Juju, leave it alone. At this point, like, it was funny. The Valentine's Day thing, that was funny. But to keep going with it, like, let James Bradbury, he knows he held. He knows he's up there with the Chris Webbers, where we're always going to remember when we think of this last Super Bowl 57, the Bradbury hold. We're always going to remember that.
Sure.
We're not going to think of that terrific run that Patrick Mahomes had on one ankle. Well, you and I will, because we do this for a living.
Right.
But just the normal folk, everyday folk.
It's that play.
It's that play.
Yeah.
So,
and after
the code of the NFL, let him live.
Dude, after the first wave of what we went through and said, leave it alone, now you really got to leave it alone. You just went to a professional comedian, a social media comedian, to do this and take your shots. Are you done yet? You done yet, Juju? You finished? Is it over?
Yeah.
Please be done.
Like, the NFL schedule obviously hasn't came out yet. We're definitely going to see Eagles Chiefs.
I would think so.
For sure. You have to make that happen.
I'd make that the first Sunday nighter, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, they do a lot of division stuff early,
Yeah.
maybe in the first 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Make it a Sunday nighter or the Monday nighter, one of the first few weeks of the season.
Because A.J. Brown, he's about lost it.
And the other weird part of this is it ends up being the real anger isn't necessarily from Bradbury to Juju. These are two receivers in the discussion, so they'll never be on the field together.
Yeah.
They're just going to jaw at each other.
Yeah, and this team, they're still mad. Like, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he had to delete a tweet because somebody said something, like some random Twitter person said something about, like, what happened in the game, in the Super Bowl, and Gardner-Johnson, it was about Gannon, who's over there with the Cardinals now,
Mm-hmm.
which is he's a defensive coordinator right?
That's correct. He was the D coordinator.
Yeah. Basically, it was something like what happened with Gannon, and Gardner Johnson said something along the lines of, he didn't let us eat the way we wanted to. And had to delete the tweet.
No. Wow. Okay.
Like, he didn't let us play the way we wanted to. It was something along those lines. And he deleted the tweet. So these guys, man, they're pretty petty and pretty salty about this loss still, which I get it.
Speaking of petty, is it wrong as a Cowboys fan that I'm really enjoying their level of petty right now? The fact that it's haunting them like this?
Yeah.
I'm kind of enjoying it.
Hopefully that doesn't turn into fuel, though. That would not be good for y'all.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be good. You're right. That would not.
Somebody like Jalen Hurts, he would definitely turn it into fuel and use that in all his training in the offseason.
You know what? As we'll get to at 2:30, Cowboys have their own issues with their head coach running his mouth. So we'll get into that and what all that means with Why Today Matters at 2:30. If you haven't heard what Mike McCarthy had to say about Kellen Moore, we will get to that. Also up next, the album swap discussion for the week. I'm talking Raekwon and Zay is talking Janelle Monáe. Up next on The Horn.
Chad and Zay.
All right, hour number 3 on a Thursday. Big day up in Indianapolis where the Combine gets started. Best of luck to the Longhorns involved. DeMarvion Overshown. Snacks is there. Mr. Coburn going to be showing off on the defensive line, and Ojimo as well. Obviously, Jalen Carter, a huge part of the discussion. He's there today, answering all the questions after going back to Georgia last night and facing those charges of racing and reckless driving. But he is back in Indy today. They set an arraignment date for him of April the 18th. So there is definitely some football discussion out there. We'll get to these Mike McCarthy comments, too. That's another thing that happens at the Combine. GMs, coaches, a lot of folks end up running their mouth in a lot of different ways. And Mike McCarthy, I guess he'd been just, holding some feelings in about Kellen Moore, and he decided this was the week to let them out. I'm a little confused as a Cowboys fan, but we will get to that. We obviously talked Longhorn basketball as well. TCU wins last night. Longhorns get no part of that regular season Big 12 title. So we've been talking about kind of where they are, getting ready for the Kansas game. It was obviously a tough one last night for the Longhorns. Tough, sluggish start. Didn't get much better. They made it close. They just couldn't hook enough plays together in that second half. So we've hit all that. If you want to jump in on the Specs text line, 337-3776 is that number. But it is time once again for a little album swap discussion. Thursdays at 2, we've decided to head down a musical road, and we're starting out with albums that are out of our comfort zones. So Zay and I have been talking about music, and we stumbled into the Wu-Tang Clan discussion, and Zay said, you need to listen to all 5 of those albums. And I said, what 5 albums? And he says, well, I'll tell you. And we go through these individual albums that the Wu-Tang Clan made after their first debut, and RZA puts together these records. So we're 3 albums deep into that today. And then for Zay, I came up with 3 albums I wanted him to listen to, kind of on the rock metal side of things. Then my wife came up with Def Leppard's Hysteria. And this week, we're going to see what Zay thinks of my daughter's recommendation. My daughter went kind of music snob on him. She went Janelle Monáe. He was worried. He thought he was going to have to listen to Harry Styles or Taylor Swift or something like that. But no, my kid goes 2018 Dirty Computer by Janelle Monáe. You want to go ahead and start off this week and talk Janelle?
Yeah, I'll start it off.
Let's do it. What'd you think?
Very impressed. Shocked how much I enjoyed the album.
Really?
I really was shocked. I've never really been deep into her catalog. I've always known of her.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when she came out, like, who is this woman with a lot of energy in a tuxedo?
Yeah.
Like, what? There was just something appealing about her, very different. Like, you could tell she's beautiful, and there's something that you can admire about when you first start off and you know she's talented without using her body to sell that talent and to put her above, others. It was just about the art of music and her personality. And now in recent years, she's kind of, sexied it up a little bit, which I definitely appreciate. Like, she was looking right at the Celebrity All-Star game.
She looked awesome.
She looked terrific.
Oh, my God.
But, man, Chad, like this song right here, I like that. I didn't know she rapped, too.
Yeah, see, I asked my daughter today, I said, is this more of a straight singing album, or does she rap a little? And she said there's both.
She has bars.
Okay.
She has bars, and it gave me a little Lauryn Hill vibe. You could tell.
That's a compliment.
That for sure. For sure. Like, you could tell that was a big influence. And, over recent years, you've heard Beyonce rap a little bit more, and Mary J. Blige, she's dabbled with it. But Janelle Monáe, very impressed with this album. You could tell she had a lot of fun. She's cussing on it.
Oh, that's good.
Dropping F-bombs.
Nice.
So impressed with the Kansas City native.
I always like the class with which she carries herself, whether it's in a movie, it's on a stage. There's another level to her. You can feel it at the way she carries herself. So you would recommend me listen to the rest of this album. I heard the first song. I heard Dirty Computer, and that's the one Brian Wilson's on from the Beach Boys, which is to get that connection was crazy. Yeah. I know Pharrell Williams is on the album in maybe a couple spots, and he produced a couple of
Yeah,
the
you could tell
tracks.
Pharrell's had a little part of this in his
And
production.
He's featured on one of the songs, so you would have me go listen to this.
yeah,
Okay.
check it out.
Good record.
Good record.
What kind of grade are we talking about here, Zay?
I'm gonna give it an 8.
8 flat?
8 flat.
8 flat. 8.0.
8.0.
Solid B effort.
Yeah.
A-B honor roll.
Right.
For Janelle Monáe. All right. Fair enough. All right. You want to hear about some Cuban links?
Oh, for sure.
We'll get into it. All right. So this is 1995. August of 95 is when this. Did I have that right? I wrote it down. I think I did. I think it's early August of 95 when this album comes out. A very important album. Yes, August of 95. So this is the third album of the individual albums from Wu-Tang. And Zay, you said this is your favorite, or is it this is your favorite of the 5? Okay. So overall, I really enjoyed it. I've already enjoyed the RZA kind of mental journey he'll take you on and all that. But I really felt like this is an album where it all came together in a way that it hadn't before. Nothing against Method Man and nothing against ODB. It just came together in a way that I hadn't quite heard before. Maybe that's because you essentially do have 2 artists here. Raekwon and Ghostface Killah are on like every track.
Right.
And then you're adding other members. Every member of the Wu-Tang Clan ends up on this album at some point or another. And you also have the thematic background that they weren't really trying on those first 2 records. The theme of the mafia stuff, the kind of, it's almost, you get the feel of like this is a mob movie as a rap album. And you could tell that's the intent.
Yeah.
That gives it a certain feel, which I really enjoyed. Just the anger of it, the intensity of it. They're giving you, I also thought of Straight Outta Compton as I was listening to this album. Because they're giving you a picture of their experience. Whether you want it or not, whether you want to hear about it or not, they're going to give you their experience. These are 2 Long Island guys, correct? Am I reading it correct on their
Staten
bios?
Island.
I'm sorry, Staten Island. My bad, I said Long Island. 2 Staten Island guys that went through some stuff. That didn't exactly have the best, they didn't just grow up some normal, average, stereotypical way. A lot of things were going on, and they create the personas. I'm trying to keep up with all of the names going on. Because everybody's got like a basic name that gets put in the credits for like producer or writer. And then they've got their Wu-Tang Clan name. And now in this album, they've got a gangster name that goes with it. Like a mafioso name.
Yeah, Luke Diamonds, that's Raekwon. Tony Starks, that's Ghostface Killah.
Yeah.
They all got noodles.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with all that. On the cover, they actually reference Tony Stark's parentheses Ghostface Killah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Nice little intro piece. But man, there's all through this album, Zay. I've always talked about, to me, a really good rap album is tough to pull off, especially when you go 17, 18 tracks deep. But I thought it was strong all the way through. I can't really come up with a track I would tell you was dragging or was weak or was lazy or was just, they're just kind of throwing it in there. There was a lot of really good stuff. And since it's such a big name, I'll go right to Verbal Intercourse with Nas on it. That is a great track.
The first non-Wu-Tang member to ever be on a Wu-Tang album, and you get Nas.
And it's Nas. Yeah, and I read up on the story of kind of how it happened that Nas and RZA were hanging out together?
Nas and Ray.
Nas and Raekwon. Yeah, would hang out together, and then
they're going on tour again together, Wu-Tang and Nas.
Are they really?
Yeah,
That's
already
awesome.
been on tour. They were here in the ATX. We were promoting it a little bit, and they're going back on tour because everybody just loves those guys.
That Nas went into the studio. They actually did a couple tracks, and Verbal Intercourse was the one that they ended up picking. I thought that was a really, really solid song. The album, the first album, if you don't count the bonus track, ends with Heaven and Hell. That's a great song. The North Star bonus track is great, especially when you're sampling a Barry White tune. That's awesome. They sampled like an old, slow Barry White song, which is priceless. That was awesome. Wu Gambino's is a really good song. Ice Cream is a really good, catchy song that I'm sure, that was one of the singles, I think, right? Ice Cream.
That's a classic.
People had to be singing that all over the place that were Wu-Tang fans.
They were literally selling shirts to women because on Method Man's hook, which is one of the most classic hooks of all time, French vanilla, butter, pecan, chocolate deluxe. So women with those complexions were getting Wu-Tang shirts that said like butter, pecan, Rican.
Wow.
And like chocolate deluxe. So they were selling merch out of their lyrics and stuff. They're just geniuses.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. The song right in the middle of it, Can It Be All So Simple, which is a remix off of one of the other two albums, right?
Yeah, 36 Chambers, Ghost and Chef did the original.
Off
Can It
of
All
the
Be So
first
Simple?
Wu-Tang album.
Right.
Yes, okay. And then everybody's on that one. So I was trying to keep up with kind of everybody that's there and all the credits that they have to give on a song like that. Because Can It Be All So Simple, that is a remix of, there's an old song in there. They have to give Marvin Hamlish credit in that song. Marvin Hamlish is a composer and conductor from way back in the day. Just as white as he can be. Fantastic that they have to give him love on this. And some others have to get credit too. That was a great track. Glaciers of Ice is really good. The 14th track is Spot Rushers.
Yeah.
And that song, when you first hear it, almost feels like it's just a little placeholder, but it's really solid.
Yeah.
It's really good. Rainy Days is great. You know me, I like my Blue Raspberry.
You do love some Blue Raspberry.
I know you've told me Blue Raspberry didn't turn into much, but I like that female voice. By the way, did you ever read the story of how she was discovered?
I have not.
I read a story that she was working at a gym, I believe it was, and got heard singing over the speaker. And that's how she was discovered. And I think discovered by, it was either RZA or Method Man. One of those two guys discovers her, brings her in. Eventually, she kind of faded out.
Yeah.
And they tried to make a record with her one time, and it didn't really work out. But I love her voice and the way it kind of, fits in. Ghostface Killer's really good. I'm happy that I like him.
He's incredible.
Because his name is wonderful. A little bit of a rougher voice than Raekwon's got, but they blend really well together. I think by the end of the album, I was figuring out who was who.
Right.
I think. It's very difficult, but I like the attitude overall. The 9th track, which I can't say out loud or I'll get fired, is about the little comments, the vocal track about them talking about, it starts with the word shark.
Shark biters?
Shark biters. Oh, I can say that one.
You can say that.
I can
say shark
that
biters.
word.
Yeah.
I can't say the other word. Okay, so yes, the Shark Biters song talking about how they want others to treat them, how they want others to pay attention to them.
I don't want nobody listening to me. Ghost goes crazy on that.
Right. And I'm also reading that this album ends up being influential to other artists that wanted to go down that mafioso path and wanted to go down that not gangster, but down the mob mentality.
Like Godfather using just different skits, and
right.
You hear Scarface skits in there and stuff.
So I end up reading names like Jay-Z and some other guys that kind of got into, and apparently some of those guys have also given Raekwon and Wu-Tang Clan credit later to say, hey, no, they were the ones that started this thing.
This album completely changed hip-hop in so many ways, from, like you just said, the mafioso standpoint. So obviously it's 95, so you could they're selling tapes back then too, CDs. I don't know where CDs are at. They're slowly becoming popular, I guess. But the tapes were a big thing. Raekwon, to differentiate himself from everybody else, he said, I want to make the tape a certain color because that's what drug dealers did. Like if you go back and look at American Gangster with Denzel, Blue Magic, it was called Blue Magic, and that blue label to just show that it was different. It stood out.
Breaking Bad had the blue thing,
Exactly.
too.
Breaking Bad had the blue thing also. So Raekwon was thinking like a drug dealer, and he wanted it to be green, but they were like, nah, we can't do green. He was like, okay, I like purple. So they made it purple, and now like it's called the purple tape. So you ask anybody, I'll jam that purple tape like crazy, and you have to do a double take. They're talking about only built for Cuban links.
That's
so
interesting.
You would look at people's collections of tapes, and then you would see the purple tape. You'd be like, oh, what is that? And they'd be like, oh, this is Raekwon, and that's how he got new listeners and stuff. But yeah, going back to RZA, this is the album where he could relax because Dirty's had a time limit, and so did Method Man's. Like, they had to make sure they got it out at a certain time because
right.
Def Jam and Dirty's label, they needed it. So RZA felt pressured, and he didn't like that. So he got to just chill. These next 2 albums, Liquid Swords and Only Built for Cuban Links, this is his best work production-wise for the individual albums. As far as Ghostface goes, he would tell you that he wasn't even locked in like he wanted to be because he developed diabetes during this time.
Oh my God.
So he said it was some of the hardest times of his life with Iron Man coming out and Only Built for Cuban Links coming out. It was tough to perform and stuff and just to really be there for those guys, even though he's legendary on those albums. It's interesting to know those things. And yeah, I absolutely just love this album. Ray and Ghost, their chemistry, the fact that RZA knew that those guys had, just a type of chemistry that you couldn't look over. They're both from different projects that had beef back in the day. One, Park Hill for Raekwon, Stapleton for Ghostface. So you always hear rumors and you see in like the biopic, which I like the biopic, but when you hear that some of it's fiction, like Ray and Ghost having this beef, they said they never had beef. So you don't know what's real, what's not, but album completely changed hip hop. I absolutely love it. And yeah, I'm glad you love it too.
Man, it was definitely impressive. Billboard 200, it debuted at 4, hit number 4. It hit number 2 on the hip hop charts. It went, this is crazy too, to show you the longevity. This album went platinum in 2020. So it sold a lot initially. It went gold pretty quickly. It didn't go platinum till 2020, but that tells me it matters. That tells you the length. That's a big deal to me to go platinum that many years after an album is released. And then just real quick, because I'm into back-to-back songs on an album and the fact that you lay them out this way. Back-to-back, Knowledge God, Criminology, Incarcerated Scarfaces, which is a phenomenal name for a song, by the way.
Yeah, it might be his most famous song by himself.
Then Rainy Days, then Guillotine, then Can It Be All So Simple. Those 6 songs in a row are amazing. And there's great stuff elsewhere. That's a hell of a run right there. I really enjoyed that section of the album.
So on Knowledge God, did you hear like the snorting at the beginning? Them like literally doing cocaine in the booth?
Yes, I did.
Insane.
You mean that wasn't just for an effect?
That's insane.
Oh, and by the way, the other thing, let me give him credit for this because it is bizarre. I believe it's the song Knuckleheads where it's referenced, but there's a guy in that song called You God.
Yeah, another member of Wu-Tang.
They put it in a song that he gets killed. The character gets killed in the song because the guy was going to jail, so he couldn't be on the rest of the record. Now, that is a hell of a story.
Yeah.
That's a hell of an album story. So, Zay, for the first time in the discussion of these Wu-Tang albums, I'm going to creep into that A category. We're going to creep into an A grade. I'm going to go 9.0. The more I listen to it, it might get better, but I'm going to try to stay conservative. I'm going to go 9.0.
I'm with it.
I'm going to go straight up an A here, 9 out of 10, no doubt.
Yeah. I'm with it. I'm right there with you. Like,
God, that's a good record.
You won't hear me give anything a 10 because nothing's perfect, but I can listen to this album through and through, anytime, anywhere. Best Wu-Tang album for me, from RZA's production, Ghostface and Ray, their connection. Incredible.
Yep, it's very, very good. I enjoyed it. All right, so next week when we get to the album swap, I will be dealing with GZA.
Yeah, GZA.
Is that right?
Liquid Swords, the genius.
Oh, this better be a good album because that's a great name.
Get your dictionary ready.
Liquid Swords. I'm going to need a thesaurus and a dictionary.
Yes.
All right, so Liquid Swords for me next week. And I believe next week, Zay, I think we're going with that Ice-T record. I think you're going to go.
Oh, yeah?
I think you're going Body Count next week.
Body Count?
Because I need to revisit Body Count. You of all people, need to listen to that album. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to love it. If I re-listen, I don't know if I'll love it. It's just one of those albums that, as much as you appreciate great rappers, this is one of the weirdest ideas a great rapper's ever had.
Yeah.
And it bugged the eyes out of so many people's heads, and I just want to go revisit it myself. Because the last time I heard that record, I was whenever Body Count came out, 15, 16, 17, whatever it was. And I really haven't heard the whole album since. So I'm going to listen to that one with you next week, and then I'm going to check out GZA's album as well. So I've got GZA and then the Ghostface Killah album to go.
Yeah.
All right, before we get out of this little section of the album swap.
Tell Monkey thank you, by the way.
I will, man. I'm glad to hear that you
Well
like
done.
the Janelle Monáe record. I couldn't imagine it being bad because she's so impressive. Like, I don't know what her flaw is, but haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
The way she looks, the way she acts, the way she carries herself, the way she speaks, just everything about her.
Yeah, she's just a cool person.
Is so impressive. And it's interesting you mentioned Lauryn Hill because Lauryn kind of carries herself like that. Lauren's kind of got that.
Yeah.
You know, not like I'm better than you, just that class about her. And Janelle really brings that. The album cover is gorgeous.
Yeah, what separates Lauryn from almost anybody was the beats, too. Like the beats that were on that first album that she won all the Grammys for are incredible, along with her flow and her vocals. So Janelle Monáe should have more of like a poppy,
This
beats and stuff. Not as much like hip hop, R&B, but with the rapping in there, good album.
Yeah, interesting stuff. The album's from 2018, and of course, the Wu-Tang album we're talking about, Cuban Links, that comes from 1995. All right, coming up, Why Today Matters, Mike McCarthy and his comments on Kellen Moore. If you're a Cowboys fan, are you thrilled? Are you excited? Or are you confused? This is The Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk Underdog Fantasy. Easiest place to play fantasy sports. And if you're looking for a pick'em game, I've told you can do a lot of different sports. Let's take a look at NBA. So Mavs and Philly tonight. Luka Doncic, how about this one? 47 points plus rebounds plus assists. Oh, y'all know I love a higher. I think I'm going to have to go higher than that with my man Luka. And then let's pull up a James Harden just to give you an idea. 6 rebounds, higher or lower. 10 assists, higher or lower. You pick the one you like. You go higher or lower. That's as easy as it gets. You picking your favorite player and whether they have the higher or lower stat total. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game. Just pick between 2 and 5 players. So if you want to go Luka and James Harden, you can do it that simple and just do those 2 players. Only thing is you can't do 2 players. You can't just do players on one team. Other than that, mix it up however you want. 2 to 5 players. Build that pick'em entry. You get them all right and you win. Sign up today with the promo code HORN and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. It's the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. It's Underdog Fantasy.
Chad and Zay.
All right, rolling through a Thursday. About to get to this Mike McCarthy stuff on Kellen Moore. I know I've heard this one before. This is Tupac?
That's right.
It's a great beat.
I love this song.
Who the hell gets credit for that thing?
I don't know.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. It's
Yeah.
so catchy.
I have no idea who made this beat.
What's the song called?
I Ain't Mad at You.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's an eerie video because Pac's like pretending to be in heaven and stuff.
Oh, is that
and
right?
He's rapping about like his homie that he got into some issue with. And
Those two, Tupac and Biggie, they ended up being obviously we know what happened, but just the creepiest lead up to it as well.
so eerie.
Like, everybody that knows both of them will tell you, like, well, you know that track, and that was 2 months before. And it's like,
Yeah.
what?
Like, why would you call your album Ready to Die and Life After Death?
Right.
Like, what?
They knew, man. It's crazy. By the way, did I ask you what beat you started the hour with? Did we cover that?
That was Apollo Kids, Ghostface Killer.
Oh, that was? Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
was on his second album, Supreme Clientele, which everybody says that's his best album ever.
Okay. Gotcha.
I think so, too.
Ghostface. Now, the one I'm going to hear is Iron Man coming
Yeah.
up. Yeah. That will be in a couple weeks. We were just talking some album swap today. Lots of good musical stuff. So we've had Tupac, Joe Walsh, Gravestone, Donna Summer, and Van Halen. Oh, back in the day, that would have been a good festival right there. We'll get you one more track before we get out of here. Also, remember, Ball Don't Lie at 3, 7 o'clock. It is Longhorn Weekly with Rodney Terry first at 7 to talk about last night and where this basketball team is. And then 8 o'clock, you got the Longhorn Blitz podcast replay if you missed it. If you haven't gone and checked it out this week, because of Longhorn basketball last night, we were unable to air that for you. So get it wherever you get your podcast or check it out tonight at 8 o'clock. And if you want to check out Longhorn Weekly and go out and support Coach Terry and the basketball team and get some good grub, Pluckers, the campus location, is where they do that every week. All right, let's get into this Cowboy stuff. Why today matters. Here we go. All right, we'll get you the comments and then we'll walk through them here. Mike McCarthy was asked about the decision to replace Kellen Moore, and he said, quote, "I've been where Kellen has been. Kellen wants to light up the scoreboard, Kellen wants to light the scoreboard up, but I want to run the damn ball so I can rest my defense. I don't desire to be the number one offense in the league. I want to be the number one team in the league with a number of wins and a championship. And if we have to give up some production and take care of the ball better to get that, then that's what we'll do." End quote. Okay.
Very contradicting there, Big Mike.
All right, Zay, what do you make of it?
Why wouldn't you want the number one offense in the league? What?
And they led the NFL in total offense and scoring offense. So I think that probably was the lead into the question. Hey, coach, you just fired the play caller that gave you that. So can you just talk us through that? So that's why he kind of went there. So, yeah, he had some national guys ripping on him today saying, wait a minute, did you just say you fired Kellen Moore for scoring too much?
That's wild.
Is that what you just said? Because on one side of it, I can really be excited about what he said. The idea of, okay, if you're acknowledging your running game and your defense, that's what we've talked about for the last couple seasons, that's good on one side. Now, the other side to me is fairly simple. You're the head coach, aren't you?
Yeah.
And aren't you an offensive guy?
That's right.
Isn't that your side of the ball?
That's his thing.
So
That's his niche.
now I'm confused. Now I need to know, is it, what, did Jerry tell you not to comment? Did Steven tell you you're not allowed to give thoughts? Because he said that same thing, Zay. He said we're going to lean on our defense and we're going to run the ball back in like training camp. That's kind of the way the season started. Cowboys fans got pretty excited about it. And now it's almost like he's saying, oh, no. You know, the sloppy stuff with Dak Prescott and everything. No, that's on Kellen Moore. Well, we're going to move on past that now.
Yeah, it's very unprofessional. I mean, say what you want about Kellen Moore. You just had 2 back-to-back 12-win seasons, and we know Dak Prescott led the league in interceptions with 17 and missed 5 games while doing that. But you could have easily just said, no, we just needed a change. Things weren't working around here. I wish Kellen the best over there in Los Angeles, but we needed a change. It's not good enough. But to say all this, that's trash to me. And you're right, Chad, like, have some backbone. You're the head coach, so if Kellen Moore is throwing the ball too much for your liking, or if y'all are scoring too many points, then say, let's get the ball on the ground some. But you got 21 over there. He ain't going to be your bell cow anything. We talk about it all the time. Number 20, Tony Pollard, he can't be, you don't want him to be that guy that gets maybe 20-something carries. That might be a little bit too much for him. I mean, he did just get hurt, and this was his Pro Bowl season.
Mm-hmm.
And say, you know, you could say that he was under-weaponized, but still, he had a Pro Bowl season. And to say that you want to run the football more, I don't think that was the right thing to say to why y'all lost this season to the San Francisco 49ers.
There's a lot of talk now in certain circumstances about a pronoun. There was a pronoun he needed here, and it's we. Just say we. I thought we at times didn't run the ball enough and protect our defense, and I feel bad about that. So moving forward, here's what we are going to do. Why did it need to be, you know, he likes to light the scoreboard up. I want to run the damn ball. You're the head coach. You're the head coach. What are you talking about? That's insane. You know what'd be really cool, Zay? If while Kellen Moore was doing that, if they had like some kind of a, I don't know, technology that would allow Mike McCarthy to tell Kellen Moore during the game that he wants to run the ball more. I don't know, like a headset. And it could have a microphone on it where he wouldn't even have to hold something extra.
Are you saying it's too much for Mike to walk along the sideline and let him know himself?
And maybe you could have a button that he could press. And when he pressed that button, his voice would go into Kellen Moore's head. And he could say, dude, let's run the ball a little bit. Our defense is killing it today. Why don't we give Pollard some more carries? To me, this is what the bartender in Frisco says right now. This is what the guy that owns a car dealership in Plano says right now. It's what I say right now. You know, they need to run the ball more and really focus on that defense. He's the head coach.
Yeah.
That's insane to me.
As insane those comments are, Chad, just trying to take any positive out of what he said. The fact that he was so, you know, just emphasizing the run game.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that might mean something for Bijan Robinson.
I hope it means something for somebody.
If he drops that low and the Cowboys see him at what, 26, 27?
26.
At 26.
Maybe, yeah.
Because now you want to run the football. You know Zeke is washed like an old dryer. You know Tony Pollard's coming back from this injury, and you're probably going to franchise tag him, so who knows there. And if you want to run the ball so much, like you're saying, and throwing people under the bus while you're doing it, then draft Bijan Robinson then.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle. Somebody texted, didn't McCarthy just say a while back he oversees the offensive game plan and play calling? Yeah, he probably did. That's so confusing. That is so confusing. I'm really kind of lost on why it needed to be that. But you're right. That is the silver lining. The silver lining may be because you really are taking one last shot at this thing. There's one last shot at, can Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, and maybe it's Tony Pollard, but how about those two and Dan Quinn as the defensive coordinator? Are those three going to be able to survive together? And what's it going to look like? Just one more year you're guaranteed with Dan Quinn. I don't know that we can guarantee him past that point. So can those guys really make a legitimate run? Now McCarthy is telling you, defense, run the ball. He's bringing in a guy named Schottenheimer. So I don't think Brian Schottenheimer is going to come in, and now he can't go against this idea. But McCarthy's calling plays, too. We know that.
Yeah.
Jerry has told us he's calling plays. McCarthy has not said otherwise. So he will now be the guy. So if I get that feeling again, Zay, in game 2 or 5 or wherever, that they need to run the ball more, it is now, I don't know, officially Mike McCarthy's fault?
With the personnel that they had this past season, I do not agree with Stephen Jones by thinking they're just a click away if they would have ran the ball more from getting to where they want to be, and that's being Super Bowl champs. I don't think if they would have ran the ball, they would have been a worse team if they would have ran the ball. As bad as Dak was, like that defense, we know how good they were this year, but still, all the points they were scoring, CeeDee Lamb having the breakout season he had as a number 1, Dalton Schultz was good this year. The fans are kind of hurt that they might lose him. They don't know what they're going to do with the tight end spot, which goes back to the Bijan Robinson thing. What do you do? Take a running back or tight end, or do you even want both / need them? But just Cowboy stuff, man.
Right.
Just Cowboy stuff. They can't help themselves.
No, it is.
Everybody.
Yeah. No, circus is gonna circus. It just happens. Sometimes it happens over at the 40 acres too, because that's a big circus tent as well, but nobody out-circuses the Cowboys. I don't think the Yankees can even out-circus the Cowboys, because the Yankees, at least when you have some of those discussions, there are rings to wear.
Yeah.
And stuff on the wall. With the Cowboys, it's just you're at a little over a quarter century of a mess now, and it's just still going. And now you got this. Head coach shows up to the combine to try to melt the former offensive coordinator. All right. If that works for you, whatever.
Yeah, somebody on Specs text line makes a good point. Do you remember when Aaron Rodgers would hand the ball off all the time under Big Mike? Because Eddie Lacy was the vocal point there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, really? That's what it was, that championship team. Everything runs through Big Eddie coming in overweight and ish.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's how it went down.
That's crazy. And then, by the way, let's be fair to the whole situation. I've said this throughout the season, too. There were times this year where I didn't think you could trust that Cowboys defense. You got to watch your team all the time. You got to react week in and week out. And yes, there's talent on that side of the ball, and I'd lean there over others, but that ain't the 85 Bears, and it's not those Bucks, and it's not, I don't even think it's this year's Eagles. Like, you got to know what you have, and you got to be, kind of moldable to it. It's just sad for me as a fan that this would be, and maybe it's just weird pent-up stuff. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he heard Kellen Moore said something about him, and he just wanted to mouth off, but
show me that audio.
It's just weird.
Where Kellen Moore is just throwing Big Mike under the bus like that.
It makes no sense. Yeah, that makes no sense from McCarthy's standpoint. To me, let us know what you think as a Cowboys fan. Always something, like they said. All right, there you go. Why Today Matters on this March 2nd. And, of course, once again, we say happy birthday to the great state of Texas. Texas is 187 years old today. That's the only birthday we need to mention to you today. All right, coming up, stems and seeds. Before we get out of here, combine workouts are underway, and it includes some Longhorn defensive players. We'll hit a little bit of that coming up on the Horn.
Chad and Zay.
Just about done on a Thursday. What you got, Zay?
4321 by LL Cool J, featuring Redman, Method Man, Cannabis, and DMX.
Wow. That's a full studio.
Yeah, it is.
My God. LL wanted to hang with some friends for this one, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a jam.
Sounds
That's a
like
jam.
it. I haven't even heard LL Cool J yet.
Yeah, he's last.
He waits
Maybe
ar-
DMX is last. I don't know.
He just waits around.
He waits around.
That's fantastic. LL Cool J with friends. Also, Tupac, Joe Walsh, Gravestone, Donna Summer, Van Halen. They've all been on the show today. Ghostface Killah with a great beat to start the hour. We talked some album swap with the Only Built for Cuban Links album from Raekwon. By the way, great album title, too. Only Built for Cuban Links. If you know what Cuban Links is, the chain and the thickness. And that imagery is so great. Reading up on that and why they called it that. That's good stuff.
Yeah, he wanted to call it Wu Gambinos, naming after the Gambino family who's from that Staten Island area. But since they're serious mob people, they were told don't do that.
Yeah. I also heard they wanted to name it exactly what they did and just add the N-word at the end of the title.
Oh, man.
They made them take that off
That
because they
makes
thought,
sense.
let's not go that far. But I think Only Built for Cuban Links still conveys the message.
Yeah.
Once you understand what that is, that's good stuff.
You don't want to say all that, just say purple tape.
Yeah, the purple tape. I love that part too. That's a very cool thing to find out about that record. Also, I didn't realize, now that maybe they're just making it up, but I read the story that Raekwon and Ghostface Killah claim to be the reason everybody loves Cristal.
Yeah.
They claim they did it. That they were at the place, that the most expensive bottle was not available, that they said, well, what else you got? They bring them Cristal. They love the bottle. And then they just got into the whole thing. They said, okay, that's it. Cristal's our thing now. And it was more expensive than the best bottle, supposedly.
Right.
Whatever the restaurant thought was the best stuff, it was more expensive than that, which they liked. And they said, okay, this is going to be our thing. So now they're claiming they started the whole Cristal thing. You buy that?
A little bit.
You going to give them credit?
I'll give them credit.
Okay, fair enough. I'm learning way too much stuff as a music snob about all these guys. It's fantastic. All right, we just talked about the Mike McCarthy stuff. We'll continue to break that down, I'm sure. Wonder what Mike Harge thought of those comments. He's a Cowboys fan like me. Ball Don't Lie coming up with Rod and Harge. Longhorn Weekly at 7 and Longhorn Blitz Podcast at 8.
No stress, no seeds, no stems, no sticks.
All right, let's go Stems and Seeds, brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Got a couple things for you on Longhorns at the Combine. How about DeMarvion Overshown Zay? Here's the truth of the measurement. 6'3", 229 is what I'm seeing.
All right.
All right. We'll see how he works out and talk about that tomorrow. Keandre Coburn, snacks. I'm seeing 6'1", 344, and he ran a 5.3440. Now that sounds fast to me. You're pulling 344, 534? That sounds kind of
It
fast.
does sound fast.
But you know what? Nowadays, these defensive linemen are so freaky. Maybe that's slow. I don't know. I have to go watch today.
Armstead at 306, Teron Armstead ran a 4.71. And that's the fastest, apparently, of all time.
Oh, God.
That's an offensive tackle, though. I need to see defensive tackles.
Dude, I'm not ashamed of how much I love the Combine, but I do love the Combine. I love watching these dudes run. I love watching it and then trying to sort of translate it to the NFL and see how a team would think. The workouts are going on right now. D-line and linebackers today in day one. We'll be back to talk about that tomorrow and how the Longhorns looked. And, of course, we'll be right in the middle of a Friday show, getting you set up for the weekend and getting you set up for that Texas-Kansas game and all the other stuff. Lots of different stories out there today. This is a weird, sad story out of the NFL, out of nowhere. Some may not be as sad about this one, but Carolina Panthers founder Jerry Richardson died last night at his home in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was 86 years old. Remember, he was kicked out after the sexual and racial workplace misconduct stuff. They did keep the statue, though, of old Jer.
Mm.
He's dead at the age of 86. All right, NFL continues because football never dies around here. Remember, we're only 4 days away from Texas spring practice and only 44 days away from the spring game. Ball don't